Alright guys, and we're back for another episode. Today we have a few more guests than normal. I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves. One you know, two you don't, so let's begin.
Hey guys, I'm back again. It's Duffy. How you guys doing?
Alright, next one up.
Sally.
Hey guys, it's Frank.
And today they're going to share with us some of their scary experiences. So, if you guys would like, you can give a little background about yourselves and kind of maybe a time in your life when these things started happening, if there was something like that caused them, or if it was just happenstance of a creepy-ass house.
Do you want me to go first? Okay. So not that I can remember, like, as a kid, but when I was younger and we lived in California, my grandmother had passed away. And it was only a few years after my mom and my father had moved to California with us. And my mom said that as a kid, I was barely like that crawling, walking stage. And that I would crawl to the front of the front door. And I would sit there and I would look outside. Because it was like a screen door in California. This is Compton, by the way. She said that I would sit and I would look up and I would say, Nana Aurora. And then my mom would be like, what? What is it, baby? And I'd be like, Nana Aurora is at the door, Nana Aurora. And she was like, oh, she's probably just heard us talking about grandma. And like as days and weeks passed, like it was like a habit where I would go like every other day and sit there and point outside and say that grandma was at the door. And she just shrugged it off as a kid's imagination.
Like most people would, like, oh, there's nothing going on. They see nothing. They've heard it too many times.
Yeah.
How old were you when this was happening? Like around?
I want to say like anywhere from 2 to 4 years old. So I was enough to kind of get words out that she was understanding that I was saying, you know, grandma's outside. I can see grandma outside of the door standing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I was told when I was older. As a kid, I really didn't experience a lot of things. You know, we all go through like traumatic experiences as kids, whether, you know, watching our parents, you know, make mistakes and us kind of being involved in everything. I don't know if it's just in Hispanics, but they've always said, like, if you act bad, the devil's going to get you. So, si portas mal, te va a agarrar al diablo kind of thing.
Yeah, they warned up that. I got the cucuy. You got like full on Satan.
I got the whole, he's going to get you kind of thing.
And did your parents ever do that thing like where they dress up as Santa Claus, but instead of Santa Claus, it was Satan?
Oh, God.
My dad just run around the red sea with the
I gotta
pitchfork.
get into a story like that real quick. When I was younger, my uncle and my aunt, they used to take care of me when my mom would go to work and stuff. And I remember one time they had this mask. It was a Satan mask. I kid you not. Like, the Te Agarra el Diablo was so true because I'd misbehave and they'd be like, oh, careful, you know, the devil's going to get you. And my uncle, he used to grab this mask and he used to come with gloves. The gloves would go like halfway down the arm and they were like bright crimson red with nasty looking nails at the end. And then the mask, it would cover your neck completely. So, and it was the type that you had to like fold over your face, so it wasn't like
so it was like movie quality.
Real. Like he would put it on, the horns would stick out, the mouth had the tongue sticking out with like the teeth. I'm terrified. I think I was like 5 or 6, maybe around there, younger. I remember it like traumatized me, and they always laugh at like family get-togethers, like, oh, Te Agarra el Diablo. I'm like, oh no. And what they used to do, they used to get this mask, and I'd be hanging out in the house, and I look around, I'm like, where's everybody at? Like, the house would be empty, the living room, the rooms, and there was this house right here in Tucson over, I forget the streets. I know it was over there on 6th. You know where 6th and Ajo is at, right by the freeway? Kind of by the Silver Saddle Steakhouse, around that neighborhood. There was like a school right there, and they used to have a name for this house, like La Casa en las 6, or I don't know, I forget, but I used to spend a lot of my time there.
Yeah.
And I remember that there'd be times where I would just kind of look around. Nobody would be in the living room, the kitchen, and there used to be the entrance. And then there used to be this room right by the entrance, and I would go in the room, and that's where like I would like hang out at or sleep. And then there's 2 back rooms, and then a bathroom, and then the backyard. And anyways, nobody would be around, so I'd go looking around in every room, and then I would start hearing my name being called.
Yeah.
Sure enough, it's my uncle coming out the corner with the gloves and the mask on, and he start growling, and I start crying and screaming, looking for my tia. We're like, tia, like, oh no. And there was this one time where they elevated it, and they were like, hey, you know what? Check this out. So I'm running over to my aunt, and then when I'm holding on to her, looking at her, telling her the cucuy's right there, the diablo's right there, my uncle takes off the mask and the gloves and throws it at her. She puts it on, and she starts patting me.
No mames.
And so when I look up, she's wearing the fucking devil mask, and I'm over here like, oh shit!
Has a fucking
And I run over to my uncle, and it turns into like a little game where I run in a circle.
Have you ever seen in baseball? They call it pickling when they throw when they're
Pickling.
like in the middle. They're throwing.
Yeah, dude, I'd be in the devil's pickle, bro. I swear, it's fucking horrible.
That was one spicy pickle, bro.
Yeah, man, it was
The hottest pickle of them all.
oh man,
That's fucked up, yo.
oh yeah, man, but. That whole term of te va a agarrar el cucuy or the devil's gonna get you, that shit,
That's
that,
real
I learned real quick, young, you know, and yeah.
I was always told that when I was a kid. Anytime we wanted to stay up late playing video games, oh, the cuckoo's gonna get you. The devil's gonna come if you don't go to bed.
I feel like Cucuy, they try to make it not as scary, but they're literally telling us, like,
Yeah.
a demon or the devil's going to get you if you do something bad. You know?
I like how they said when you're playing video games, they're like, shit, I got an extra remote. That motherfucker gonna catch a fade in Mario Kart. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Now, the funny thing is, what we would do is we would lay down, wait till we thought they were asleep, then we'd get up and start playing, and we knew where the creaks in the floor were, and we knew that we would hear them coming. So as soon as we heard the creak, we would go ahead and put a T-shirt on the PlayStation so the little green light wouldn't be on, and then we'd lay down, turn off the TV. They'd come in, open the door, look, stand for a minute, walk out, go back to bed. We'd wait 2 minutes, uncover, turn the TV back on, and just start up
You
at
guys
it
had
again.
a system?
Yeah,
Yeah, bro.
You fucking goofster. You fucking gapster.
I can't help it.
Yeah, man.
So when I was younger, the devil's gonna get you. I didn't really like being home. I was always like a very social butterfly, even from a kid. And we used to live in Agua Prieta, which is like, if you look at Arizona, it's Douglas, and right across the border, it's a small town, Agua Prieta. And I lived there. I lived in Mexico. And I had made friends down the street, and our families knew each other and everything. And I had asked one night, because they're like, oh, spend the night. You know, they're little girls like me, and it was exciting to not be home that night, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, please, Mom, please. And I was like throwing a fit. And it's to the point, I feel like it got to the point where they were embarrassed. So they're like, yeah, go ahead and spend the night. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead. Yeah. And it led to, te va a agarrar el diablo, you know, the devil's going to get you because you don't listen to us, kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean?
Ain't gonna happen.
Exactly.
So you tell your cousin, like, hey, man, if you ask her, she'll say yes. But if I ask her, she'll tell
say
me
no.
to shut up and get in the car. So go ahead
Tell
and
me about the
ask.
devil, man. You ask her.
I think I was around the age of, I want to say 9 or 10. It was old enough for me to have, sleepovers and stuff. And it was just down the street. So I ended up going, and we played outside, and we watched movies, and it was time for bed. And, us living in Mexico, we lived very humbly. It was literally just 1-bedroom houses or no bedroom houses, just one little studio kind of thing.
Right.
And their house was set up where in the front, like if you're standing looking at the house, it's a gate where you can kind of see through, but there's a door. You open up the door, and it's a little walkway, and it leads to the front of the house. And again, it's that screen door. And right in front, it's like a couch, and they had a pull-out bed. So that's where the girls slept. And then the mom ended up sleeping on like a recliner sofa for the little girls to be able to sleep on the bed. Mind you, it's late, and I'm literally sleeping in the middle. So if I look up, I look straight past the screen door in the walkway and out to the fenced area. Towards the bottom of the fenced area, it was like cement. So like if someone walked, you would only see like their waist up, right?
Okay.
And in the nighttime, I hear running late. We went to sleep late.
So you would see their like top half of
yeah,
their body?
if it was an adult, you would see their top half, right, walking
right.
kind of thing.
Okay.
If it was a kid, you'd only see the hairline.
Yeah, if that. And I hear running, like little pattering, going back and forth, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's time to wake up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I automatically opened my eyes, and I looked, like I literally looked down and looked straight outside, and I could hear the running, and I started laughing. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, this isn't time for kids to be. Even I knew as a child, kids shouldn't be outside right now.
This is ridiculous.
Exactly. And
If that was me, I'd be getting the chancla to the head.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I sat there and I remember gripping the blankets real tight. And for some reason, I couldn't look away and I kept looking down. And the running happened, I want to say like 4 or 5 times, like that way. And then, all the way back. And then it stopped. Like right in front, like where the gate would open, right?
Yeah.
The gate was metal, that the top part was like that little see-through kind of fence. And a little hand popped up and it waved at me like that. And I stayed stuck like this. I just got the chills. I got stuck like this and I kept looking and the little hand went down and it ran away and it never came back.
That's creepy.
So I remember I put my head under the blanket and I was like it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. And I just remember feeling so terrified that I started crying and the mom woke up like, oh, like, are you okay? And I was like, you need to take me home now. Like, I was crying for them to walk me down the street and take me back to my mom and dad.
I can't do this.
I was terrified and they went down and I was literally like, as an adult, we don't do it. But when you're a kid and you'd cry where you couldn't like breathe, like,
Yeah.
like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking a silent cry.
Yeah, so she goes and knocks on my parents' door and they come out and all they hear is their kid crying. So they come out all worried and she's like, I don't understand what she's saying. She kept saying, I can't understand the words. I can't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Nobody understands the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Exactly.
It's fucking.
Exactly.
She saw something.
But I imagine as a kid, and then it just disappearing, And I remember I told them, and it led to, we told you the devil was going to get you.
That is
at
so
9
they
years
would.
old.
What happens when
They
you don't
would.
want to stay home?
See that motherfucker?
At 9 years old, instead of like, oh, it wasn't real or it was your imagination, it was see what I told you kind of thing. And
It's like
since
straight
then,
up Mexican parent right there.
yeah, so that was one of the like as a kid, like one of the experience I had where like I've never been able to shake that like memory from my head. Because it was like it was for real happening to me and no one else heard this.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't hear running or laughing.
So my question is, with the hand, did you notice it being like a complete solid form?
It was like
or was it translucent?
It
at
was
all?
like a shadow, right?
Okay.
It was dark outside. So the 5 little fingers came up, a little palm, and it went like this. If you can't even see past where as a kid, you wouldn't be able to see past where the metal of the gate is or even the cement, so you would just go up and wait.
Yeah, and then the thing is too is like the little kid. How did the little kid even know? Suppose
that
the little
was
kid
gonna-
that someone was even there to see them wave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's creepy. That just gave me.
It's
the
crazy.
chills,
Have you
man.
guys heard of shadow people? Like the phenomenon which is shadow
yeah.
people. So a lot of people they're like, oh, they're like displaced spirits or that. But then there's another theory where the shadow people are actually like
form as
extra.
kids.
Well, they're extra. They're what's called extra dimensional.
Yeah.
So that means they're not from our dimension. But
Right.
that's the whole thing. That when I heard that, because
Yeah, it's just like their resonance.
yeah. So it's just like the shadow of the person, but like they can see you, but you're not gonna see them because it looks like just a shadow, which is fucking creepy. But a girl I dated, she had a daughter who said that she always saw shadow people. She was maybe like 2. She's like, "There's a shadow person." I was like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here! Get out of my fucking car!"
Well, maybe we're seeing the same.
Or what about the dark-eyed children?
Oh, fuck that
Oh
one.
yeah, I've heard
Oh,
about
I've
those.
heard about
They
them,
knock
yeah.
at your door and then they tell you like they don't
A
tell
sad
you, but
story.
they knock
Yeah.
at your door and then you look like, oh, you know what, like
There's a
what's
kid
up?
out
Like
here.
I'm gonna open the door. There's a little kid out there, but people would claim to see these supposed kids, but their eyes would be completely black, and they'd be making sob stories like, oh, my mom was gone, I'm lost, let me in.
And how hard is it to not want to,
To want to
a
help,
kid,
yeah.
you
Like
know
your
what I mean?
humanity is like, oh, I gotta help
Nah,
out. this
fuck
little
that. That
kid
shit's
at my
real easy.
door.
I'm like, get the fuck out of my face.
There's times, dude, where like I'll hear knocks, and because of like the black-eyed children or whatever, I think to myself like, I don't care. I've always learned like growing up, I've always been into the supernatural, so I would think like, you know what? Oh, babe, did you hear that? It sounded like someone was knocking. I'm like, I don't even care. Don't go to the door. Don't open it, because in my beliefs, like if something that's not of this world is knocking at your door and you open the door,
You're letting
to
them
them
in.
it's like, thank you for letting me in. Like,
you,
come on.
doo-doo, oh, ghost. You know what I mean? I'm like, heck no, man. But yeah,
I like how you
that-
automatically
that's
go
scary.
fucking paranormal with that. I love that.
Well, but the thing is, too, with them, there's never been, oddly enough, any reports from people who have let them in, because if you do, you don't live through the night.
Oh, wow.
And there was actually a person that recorded. I'll have to see if I can find the video, see if it's still up. But he had like security cameras, interior security cameras, and exterior ones. And you would see the kid come up to the porch, knock on the door, a couple of times it even looked at the camera, and it was where you just see just blacked out eyes.
Yeah.
And then they'd keep knocking, and he'd never answer. And this happened, I think, 7 to 10 nights in a row.
That's creepy.
It was consistent. Like, it
Yeah.
wanted to get in.
Yeah, every night.
You know, and as an adult, when I think back of that experience that I had, like, as a child, it was a fearful feeling. But when I think of it, like, as an adult, I didn't feel harm, right? So I feel like you can feel, like, even when you go into someone's house, you can feel, like, the energy.
Yeah.
Or, like, the kind of, you know,
The aura.
like the aura that they
like,
carry. You know
walk
what I
in,
mean?
you feel tense. You're like, I
Yeah,
don't
or
wanna
like
be
the
here.
house feels like gloomy, or like you feel heavy,
Yeah.
right?
You're like, damn, some shit went down in this house. I'm out of
real.
here. Yeah.
And when I think back at that memory, I don't feel like it was like that. I feel like it was just a kid playing. It wasn't like trying to be evil or mean or harm me. But as a kid seeing that and knowing.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Are you a huge cunt?
Us too. Wait, can we even say cunt?
Of course! It's empowering these days. Cunt, 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 cunt. I'm Ange Ballastone, aka the drag queen, That Girl Gina.
And I'm Mike Fales, just a normal gay guy, I guess?
And we're the hosts of The Big Cunty Couch.
A gorgeous new talk show podcast where we invite queers and peers to sit, bitch, and be fierce on a huge-ass couch.
While we gab about all things gay.
So come get cozy.
And cunty.
With us. We're panned for platforms, so find us anywhere online and get listening, sweetie.
Or watching.
Or both.
Otherwise, why the hell am I in full drag?
And we'll see you on the big... Oh, wait. I thought we were going to say that together.
No, on The Big Cunty Couch. Mwah.
That your mom
I
just said, be
couldn't-
careful, the devil's
exactly.
gonna get your
You know
ass.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
associating it with that was terrifying as a child, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't feel bad from it or evil from it. You know what I mean? It's just terrifying to experience and see that.
Just the situation where you're like, all right, well, I'm related to this.
Well, that happened.
What do I do now?
Exactly.
And then that's the thing, as a kid, you know, they say ignorance is bliss. So you're little, and now that you're older, you kind of, if you do research on it, you realize that, like, sometimes forms or entities, they take these forms to make it seem like, oh, I'm not gonna harm you. I just want to
Yeah,
play.
when we talk about this, the last
Bro,
podcast, too,
yeah. Where they're like,
Yeah, we were.
they see the little kids are like, oh, you know, like,
you're
I
gonna
wanna
want to
play
help a
with
little
you. Or
kid.
when little kids are like, oh, I have an imaginary friend, I'm like, leave that fucking person alone. Then, you know,
You better
That's
fucking
not
pick up
your
that
friend.
that's
Yeah,
not-
yeah.
yeah.
They make it like it's playful or
Yeah.
innocent. You know what I mean? To
And-
gain your trust. Maybe.
And that's one thing that, like, I wanted to get at was that it's all about, like, I feel it's all about the type of energy or it's all about the type of headspace that you're in, you know, like I feel that because we are in a different dimension than these paranormal things, it's like they don't have the same thing. You know how it's like, oh, they're translucent or they're just shadows or they don't really look like a full form. It's because they're from another dimension, you know, and we're here and they're over there. And what was it? That dude from your department, KD or something?
Caden,
Yeah, he was like, he was telling me, like, you know, they don't have the power that we have here in this dimension, and I don't know, it's like
like accepting
it goes
them
into-
in, gives them
yeah,
the fucking,
letting them
full-
in
yeah,
and
the
giving them
foothold.
the power, and then recognizing them, and then like saying like, oh, I see you, or giving attention to these things. It's like EVPs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They take energy. They gotta take energy from something in order to form or to like come to be. And as a kid, I was always growing up with other family members, with cousins and aunts and tias and uncles and all that. And I had a couple cousins that I grew up with, and excuse me, I have family from Agua Prieta as well, and we'd always go for like family parties and get-togethers and whatnot. And you know, there's a bunch of uncles and other family members over there that I didn't really grow up with necessarily, but you know, you always get these types of different you get exposed to the different types of beings that there are in the world. You know what I mean? Like, you have an uncle that's a little creepy, or an uncle that's mean, or an uncle that, you know what I mean? We're all reflections of ourselves or each other based on what type of things we've gone through in our life. And I've met some uncles and family members that, you know, were either mean to me or like, you know, you're like, dang, that dude's been through some shit. Like, that's why he's mean or whatever. But
Motherfucker.
yeah, and you know, like, that thing where, like we say, growing up, there's always some kind of, like, in every culture, like oh, the Baba Yaga's gonna get you, or the Cucuy, or the Diablo, or the boogeyman and shit like that. You know?
Crackhead Charlie from down the street.
Dude, swear. And so, like,
Meth Man Mike.
Meth Man Mike down the road. He got them cheeseburgers, man. No fucking. And growing up, it was just like, I was always told, like, you need to behave, especially going when I'd visit in Agua Prieta, they'd be like, oh, the Llorona. And I know you guys know about the Llorona.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The
well,
Chupacabra.
What my mom
OG
used
right
to
there.
say is anytime she'd leave the window open a crack during, like, monsoons and you'd hear that whistle, that's when she was like, oh, La Llorona's coming for you.
Yeah. And so, like, you get exposed to these types of lores and stories and things growing up.
Like
And
even like La
and-
Chupacabra, también is another one.
The Chupacabra, the
We think my grandpa's farm, actually, when we were kids, got attacked by it.
Yeah.
Because he had all his chickens and stuff, same thing, the 2 marks on the neck, all the blood drained.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, you know, you get exposed to these stories. Yeah, they're lores or they're just stories to, like, tell the kids to come back inside before the lights are out, you know, to keep them out of trouble and whatnot. But
I believe that lores, folklore, and everything like that comes from someone experiencing something. You know what I
it gets
mean?
passed down.
You know what I mean? And then along the way, people experience it as well, and it becomes a thing where, like, I know that people want to be like, well, show me proof, kind of thing. Like, show me proof that happened, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm telling you, multiple people have experienced this. Like, that should be enough. But us people, even when they do show you a video, they're like, it's fake. It's tampered with.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of like it's a never-ending cycle of, I did go through this, but just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it didn't
Oh
happen.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's all about the human beings. They think to themselves like, oh man, what do they always say? Like, people fear what they don't understand.
They're trying to rationalize.
Yeah, they rationalize
Yeah,
it
there
so
you
they
go.
could be like, you know what? It was just the TV shadow, or it was just
windy
I'm
outside.
sleepy. I got it in my peripheral vision, or it was the next door neighbor, or the dogs aren't barking at anything. It's that stupid cat from next door. Tell you, that's for me. I hear both the dogs outside barking. I'm like, it's the fucking stray cats, or the cats that the neighbor says is not theirs, but they let those fuckers run around freely and they
My
poop in
favorite
my
is
fucking yard.
my favorite is the house is still settling. So you're sitting there and telling me the come here was just the house settling? I think
I was
not.
just gonna work up to that. one,
How's that
actually.
fucking house know my name?
And you know, growing up, being exposed to these stories and these types of like forewarnings, if anything, you give energy to these things and you start believing them as a kid. Like as a kid growing up, I was told like, oh my god, like I was what they would call a bizcocho. You know, a bizcocho, a little scaredy cat, you know. So growing up, I was always like a little scaredy cat, a little mama's boy, because I was raised by all women. So trust me, I had to learn to toughen up as I got older. Even to this day, I'm still learning to toughen up. But when I was younger, I used to get picked on a lot by my cousins, and my tias and tios used to be like, te va a agarrar la bruja kombucha. And you're like, what is a bruja kombucha? That was the filter, the air filter. Bro, when I first moved here, we'd be sleeping and we hear the filter fall like that, and it hit the filter like holder, filter cartridge, and it'd be like, dunk, and we're like, what is that? And I run around the house, do like 3 laps, and I'm like, I don't know what it was. And then we hear it again, and I freaking be like 3 a.m, like, babe, I gotta wake up for work right now. She's like, it's okay, babe. But growing up, I was always told like, you're malcriado, you're misbehaving, you know, that witch is gonna get you, or the whatever. Like they always tried to shelter me, and also scare the shit out of me at the same time. So
So fucking contrarian right
yeah,
there.
dude. So I swear, growing up, it was like I was always using my imagination, and I believe now that I'm older, like reflecting, that my imagination would put these things together in my head, but I would also like see things like my brain would put together these pictures of like a witch or like a scary monster
Because of what they
at
were
the end
telling
of
you.
the hallway, you know, and in the back room and shit, and so I feel like I was putting this energy into these scary negative things growing up, and it was just like one thing that I did believe in was just behaving. You had to behave, or you were gonna get caught up by one of these scary beings, you know.
Well, so what do you think about when something actually does lash out and attack? Like, for example, I used to have a paranormal investigation company. I can't remember if I've told this story on the podcast or not, but we went to investigate a home. It was the CEO of the company my dad worked for. His dad has a home in the foothills. And it started out at, I believe it was $1 million when they bought it. And then they added a like crazy expansion.
Yeah.
And after the expansion that they added on is when weird things started to happen. And they came home to the maid standing outside at 3 a.m. crying her eyes out.
Oh, wow.
And she had told them that she was laying in bed and she felt like from every single angle, like literally both sides of her body, she was being forcefully tucked in by something.
Like
And
the
nothing
pressure.
was there.
She was feeling
Just gave
pressure
it a
around
chill.
her. Yeah.
So,
That's the thing though, was like maybe it was just a carrying ghost. It's like,
No, well,
it's like, and then I felt a forehead
Don't let
kiss
the
too.
bed bugs bite.
yeah. No, so we go and, we do a session and we do 2. And the second one is when it got interesting because at that point, my cousin and I had been there before. And we had even asked in EVP sessions, we were training third investigator. And he's like, hey, these guys have been here. Is it okay if I'm here? And when we went back to listen to the EVP, mind you, he had never said his name. And you just hear it go, no, Zach. So we're like, all right, something's weird. And later on throughout the night, we did a few separate rooms. One, like we would sit in, and it was pitch black in the room. We had been in there for probably 45 minutes, so our eyes were adjusted. But outside, you could see like the little nightlight under, and you would constantly see it get blocked out. But what looked like
Someone's walking.
yeah, like someone walking. We were the only ones there. His dad was out of town. He was down. He lived like 3 blocks down, but he was in bed. So one of the times we opened the door, nothing was there. We finally get to the maid's room, and we have our trainee sitting. So you walk in the door. To your right, there's a big open space where the bed and everything is. To the left, there's like a little cubby spot where you could put a dresser. And he sits there with a video camera faced at us. And my cousin and I are sitting on the bed. And just to make sure it's not one of those, one of us gets nervous, starts shaking, we sit shoulder to shoulder. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the bed starts violently shaking. And I mean to the point where we were like, okay, is Arizona getting a fucking earthquake? Like, what the hell's going on? And we both hop off. And he's like, dude, my back feels weird. So I'm like, okay, well, lift up your shirt. We grab the flashlight, and he has 2 scratches down his back. Nope, apparently. There goes my car keys, sorry. Kukui.
Yeah, dude, swear.
But trying to steal my ride. But yeah, I mean, we're sitting there and we went around, looked at everything on the bed, on the headboard, on the frame, if there was anything that could have scratched him when we jumped out, and there was nothing there. And after that, he actually got out of anything paranormal for a while. It was
that
probably
was enough for him.
Yeah,
to
it was
step
many
out.
years, and then recently he just got back in.
Okay, so he was able to kind of cope with it, deal with it, and be like, I'm ready to try again, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, so what do you guys think about when something like that happens? I mean, I have more stories of people in our
I
family
do
getting
believe
attacked.
that it's more of a malicious entity that's trying to like hurt at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's not just trying to make itself known, it's trying to get you out. It doesn't want you wherever you're at.
Yeah, and
I feel like when it gets that violent or loud or
Yeah.
it has enough force to move things and stuff, it doesn't want you in wherever the hell you're at, in
And
someone's house, anywhere.
it goes back to what I said earlier, is that whatever you put attention to is gonna feed off that energy. You know what I mean? Like, when you want to lose weight, you start eating better, you work out, you put energy towards that goal that you want to reach.
Yeah.
So sure enough, you're gonna start losing weight if you start doing calorie deficit and things like that, and working out. So if you start putting attention towards looking at dark movies or scary things or scary music or scary books, and
You're opening yourself
you're
up
opening
more.
yourself up to this type of energy that you're gonna attract things, because we live in a dimension. We obviously do. There's quantum physics. There's energies. There's lights. There's power. So you know what I'm saying. I feel like once these things, whatever you want to call it, see that you're feeding into that type of energy, of course they're gonna want to tap in and essentially fuck with you. You know what I mean? So I definitely believe that like whatever you put your attention towards too is definitely gonna attract whatever you're fucking putting your energy towards.
So what you're saying right now is so that's what you were thinking, like with like when you like you consume dark media, like
Yeah.
something about like murder,
Yeah.
you like Satanism, you think you're putting
And
that
you
energy
wanna-
out.
Yeah, and you'll sit there and be like, I had nightmares. And I'm like, oh, really? You
Mm.
had nightmares.
You didn't
I think we were
about
talking
them?
about that a while
Yeah,
ago
yeah.
when I was telling you to watch that. What was that movie? The Lords of Mayhem, the
Yeah,
Lords of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos. I
Yeah,
still
'cause
haven't watched that movie because I'm terrified.
It's a good movie, but at the same time, it is like surrounded by like Satanism and like church
Yeah.
burnings and murders. And you're
So
telling me, like,
Norwegian
yeah, we don't
black
want
metal.
that energy in the house.
Oh,
And you're like,
for
we don't
real.
want that energy. I was
Yeah.
gonna recommend watching American Satan, but never mind.
Yeah, no, bro. 'Cause, one thing I wanted to touch on was that once I started getting older and like I moved out, you know, and when I was growing up, I was going to school and I ended up. My mom had gotten pregnant with my little sister, and she moved out of town with my grandmother because we had a couple acres in this house. We had trailers on the acres, so my grandmother had her own trailer. We had our own trailer, and then we had another trailer that we started at, but now it was just like an empty storage trailer. Like,
Yeah.
we just left all our extra stuff over there, and we moved over there from 4th grade all the way to 8th grade, and then I moved back to Tucson. And in St. David, it's a small little strip of land. It's like close to Tombstone, Benson,
Yeah.
Fort Huachuca, Sierra Vista. Like, it's around those small areas, you know what I mean? And when we moved over there, I was exposed to acres to land, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you go out there, there's no city lights, there's no lights. You turn off the lights,
Oh, okay.
it's pitch black. And when we first moved over there, we had this trailer, so my grandmother was working on the septic tank. She was working on connecting the power. She was working on cleaning, and we were doing all of that for a long while. At the beginning, we didn't have any running water or light, so we would just go work all day, and then we'd go into this motel like 10 minutes away from the trailer.
Yeah.
And so we lived in a motel for like a couple weeks or longer, I want to say, man. And I got exposed to what real fucking darkness was. Like, we'd be out there working and it'd get late. It'd be pitch black. Like, you look up, you see the stars. It was also a beautiful thing, you know. And this is like towards 6th, 7th grade, and I'm growing up as a man, as a person, as a human being, and I'm getting exposed to all these different types of cultures with like religion and what is accepted in society and what is accepted and what isn't accepted, what's taboo, what isn't taboo. And it was a total 360 when I came back to Tucson, because
Yeah.
when I came back to Tucson, it's like it's not as conservative as it is over there in that little town. And
Yeah.
I got exposed to music. I got exposed to sexy movies on TV. I got
Oh damn.
yeah, bro. I got exposed to you know, sexual preferences, like, you know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like I seen my first I seen a bunch of things for the first time, and
I saved.
yeah.
As your wife
Yeah,
looks
man,
at
for
you.
sure. No, like I
You've
had
seen
been exposed
what?
to a bunch of things that were like whoa, this was not like this back in this little town.
Yeah.
But in that little town, I would go and get lost in these woods, and you would find really old things in the ground. Like, we used to find things from the 50s on the 2 acres that we had. We'd find things from the 50s, from before, from after. We'd find little cans that were still preserved, that were like Campbell's noodle soups, and stories would come around from people like, oh, you know, down the way over there, there's this guy who lives down here and said blah, 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 and did this and did that, and abandoned buildings and churches, and you're next to the border, so be careful with La Chupacabra and Los Cucuys and whatnot. And when I came back to Tucson, I got into high school, and then I graduated at Tucson High. And when I was like 17, I had gotten kicked out, and I was on my own. You know, my aunt was still taking care of me, and she would like take care of me. I had a house over my head, so I wasn't homeless or anything. But my mom was in St. David with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And so I was alone a lot of the time. So I ended up wanting to not be alone. So I would constantly call my friends. Like, there'd be times, bro, when the flip phones were still around, I would do like a mass message, and I would send messages to people. Hey, what are you doing? Let's hang out. Hey, what are you doing? And boom, I'd hit up like 7 people of course, I'd get like one or two that would be like, all right, cool, or not today, maybe next time, or people would just not answer me.
Yeah.
So then I would start getting in my head. I would be like, nobody wants me, nobody likes me, nobody wants to be cool with me. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I started experimenting with drugs. I started smoking some weed. I started smoking cigarettes. I started going out and drinking, and I started exposing myself to like darker things in the world. Like I would watch porn a lot, and then I would actually like listen to a bunch of, you know, music with bad shit in it, and I would start like hanging out with people who didn't have these good energies, and I would get exposed to these things, and I would start having nightmares.
Yeah.
And it feeds into that whole like whatever you put your energy towards is what's you're gonna get exposed to. And I remember fast forwarding a few years later, I graduated, and I had been working since I was 16, so I wasn't a stranger to working, you know. But I remember that I started hanging out with some folks that introduced me to cocaine, and I'm not ashamed to talk about it anymore because I'm obviously not the same dude anymore, but cocaine's a hell of a fucking drug, bro. Like you get exposed to people who are darker than that, you know what I mean? People who do harder drugs, people who are into crazier shit, people who are just not right mentally, you know? And I remember there was a long while, this was where a couple years would pass, and I would think to myself, like, what am I gonna do today? All right, I gotta pay these bills. I was making provisions, I was making time, and I was making sure that what I had was enough for my addiction, which was like, all right, I'm going to spend $40-$50 on some Coke, some beer, I'm going to pay my rent, and I'm going to fucking go out. And then I'm going to wake up early enough to go to work, because I was working 2 jobs, so my excuse was, oh, I'm always tired, it's okay, I'm going to do a few bumps, and I'm going to party, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, you go to bars, you go to nightclubs, strip clubs, and you get exposed to people who are fucking dark, bro.
Yeah.
And I've seen some evil people. I've seen some people do some evil shit, and I started realizing, like, yo, this is pretty bad. And when I met Araceli, I was already partying every weekend. I was doing it almost every other day. And I didn't think I had a problem. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking Big Frank. Like, I ain't gotta worry about shit. I'm gonna be all right. Like, I can stop when I want. And my family didn't know.
I do what I want.
Yeah, man. Like, my family either didn't know or they didn't really want to admit that they could see that from me.
Yeah.
So for a while, I tried to play everyone like, oh yeah, I'm just over here sniffling and snuffling because I got allergies or I'm fucking cracked out. You know what I mean? And then they used to. I remember, man. It's like it's horrible. It's just I was in a dark place, and I would start having these nightmares of like what is it called?
It was like the
we were
devil.
just talking about it.
Like you said that you would see like the devil, and like he was big and like a black figure with like
Oh,
long
yeah,
claws,
yeah.
and it would crawl towards him.
Oh man!
Like it was
I
trying to
forgot
get
about all
him.
that
Is
shit.
what he said. It felt like he was coming after me, and he
but
would wake
you
up
always
like
get
not
those
himself.
kind of dreams when you ain't living right.
Yeah, bro.
And he
I
said
feel
that
I got a
he-
story about that too.
He said he'd wake up and feel like he wasn't in his own body. Like he felt like he
Like
couldn't
out-of-body
control.
experience.
Yeah, like what he was
Yeah.
feeling at the time.
Yeah.
It was like I knew better. What's one thing growing up, I always knew better. I was always exposed to that's not right, Francisco.
Yeah.
You know better than that. You're a better person than that. Don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
Why are you fucking up, Frank? And I always knew better. So that's one thing that I can say with my family. They've always taken care of me. They've loved me, and we all have our issues. And I just remember that, like, giving that little background to my stories is that I was exposing myself to these dark energies, and I was not in the right mind. I was vulnerable is the word I was looking for. Vulnerable because, I mean, it's like, who do you want to fight? You want to fight a big motherfucker that can kick your ass, or you want to fight someone that's like, I could take him on, you know, give him a few punches, kick him in the nuts, that fool will fall down. It's the vulnerability. It's like, I remember that when I was in this vulnerable state, I used to have these evil fucking dreams where, like, I would have, I can't remember the name of it. What is it called when you're sleep paralysis? Sleep paralysis, bro. I'd have these dreams where I would feel my whole body go numb, and I'd look around the room, and I would just lay in my bed for hours, and I'd be like trying to move, and I'd be screaming, And I'd be like, dude, you need to wake the fuck up, like shake it off. And I would feel like a finger or two move, and I'm getting the chills talking about it because now I'm going back to these moments that I used to feel like I was powerless, or I used to feel like I wasn't as strong as I could be. And I remember I used to have these dreams of things laughing at me or like coming towards me or trying to consume me.
Yeah.
And I remember right when I met Araceli, she had told me like, hey, you know, the stuff you're doing is bad, like doing cocaine is not good. I've seen people that I love very dearly do these types of things, and I'm not into it. I like you, I'm into you, but if you're gonna do this shit, don't do it around me. Yeah. So in my head, I was like, I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna do it right before I go hang out with her, and I'm just not gonna do it in front of her. You know, I try to be smart. I try to find a loophole.
You should have been a lawyer.
Yeah. And so for a while, like in the beginning of a relationship, I tried to like pretend that I wasn't, and she just knew, and you could see it. I remember that I started giving in and telling her like, hey, I'm gonna let you know something, but don't get mad. I did this, and I'm fiending for it. Like I was like, I just did something, and my head's gonna explode. Like I just like it was this horrible thing that took me over and was telling me you need it or you're gonna fucking die. Like there was times where I would party so hard that once it ran out, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I feel like my body was on fire, and like I was gonna literally have my head explode if I didn't get any more of this fucking drug. And I told her one day, because I was at work, and we met each other at this call center, and one day we moved in after a few months of being friends, and we moved in, and one day after work, I had done a bunch throughout the day because I was surrounding myself with people who was doing that at work, and it went to prove that like these people, like misery loves company. So these fools are like, hey man, like I want some, you got $20, let's get some. And I became a vulnerable ass motherfucker, and I just remember these nightmares of like black shadows and black, I want to call them demons, because they would laugh at me and they would like point at me. And
but it followed him for like years, like later into our relationship. Like he would have these nightmares where things would call him and he would get stuck, and he'd wake up and be like, I just had a nightmare. And I was like, well, what was it? And he would explain it to me, and it was like, I've never dreamt like that in my entire life. And I think I would wake up like terrified if, you know, the things that he said that he would see or that would talk to him. And it was like, it started off normal, like Frank, and it would change into like a scary,
like it'd get mad if I wouldn't
like
pay attention to
distorted. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Voice calling for him at that point, like trying to lure him. I think one of the dreams he said one time he had, it sounded like his dad. Him and his dad's relationship is estranged.
Yeah.
So when he heard his dad, he was like, my dad's not in my house right now, right? Like this, I must be dreaming. But he said it felt real, like his eyes were opened. He could see the bedroom, you know, the sun was coming up early in the morning. And he heard, Frank.
Francisco, entra pa'l cuarto.
Yeah, or mijo, come here. And then it started turning into like this thing, and that he remembers like kind of standing up and walking towards, and around the corner, like this black, dark figure comes around the corner of the hallway. And if you look down the hallway, our bedroom was there. Yeah. So Francisco's looking straight at whatever's trying to come at him down the hallway now. And that he would wake up and he'd like be like hyperventilating from his dreams, and I didn't know how to help him feel better from that. You can't control a dream, right? No. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so like I remember those dreams, like for like that one for example, and it was after Araceli told me, okay, either you're gonna stop doing the drugs or I'm out, because I'm not gonna put up with that shit. You're beautiful, you're handsome, I love you, whatever. But cocaine is nasty.
Beautiful.
She probably didn't say I was beautiful. But she was
trying to give himself the plug there.
Yeah,
she gave me an ultimatum.
Subtle plug.
And so I realized, and I sat down and I told myself, all right, dude, like you're strong, you can do this. Sure enough, went cold turkey, and I stopped. And I had my ups and downs where there was moments where I did mess up, and I would do it and have like a weekend and have a bender, you know what I mean? And she stuck by me, and she definitely took care of me. But there were still those moments where like I would have these nightmares, and that one particular nightmare. What the fuck is that? Oh, that's actually someone. Oh my god. So yeah, that's probably my little sister-in-law. But anyway, these dreams, at this apartment we were living at, it was like this dark entity was around the corner, and it was like calling my name, and it took the form of my dad. Not my biological father, but
your stepdad, or
yeah. And we grew up, and it was this thing where like I went through a lot of abuse with him, and
like
where physical abuse, and he would like mentally try to get in your head, and
just kind of fuck with you. Like he seemed like he was doing it just with a purpose.
Yeah, like him and my mom would fight a lot, and he was real abusive with my mom, and he was abusive with me, and my little brother came into the picture, and like he started changing. I started growing up. I was like 12, 13, and he would physically abuse us. He would just hit us, and like, oh, you didn't ask me for permission? All right, fucking beat you up real quick, and he would take off his belt.
Yeah,
he'd hit me. He was just like an evil person. Unfortunately, he was a dick, bro. Like, I had my good moments with him and all that. It was beautiful and all that, whatever. But just a lot of my growing up was unfortunate, and I know there's people who've been through worse, but this is my story where like I just went through a lot of physical abuse.
Yeah, because I mean, you can always look at it. There's somebody going through worse, but at the same time, that's not your life.
Yeah,
this is your life, and you're going through this shit. Yeah. So that's why it's like bad to you.
Yeah, and I just remember that like now reflecting on it, this dream, it was like it knew that I was scared of my dad.
Yeah.
So it was trying to use that to manipulate you.
And then I'm telling you, like when there was those beautiful parts, is like when I got older, he knew like I can't beat up Frank no more. Like I'm gonna watch how I act around him, because we got into physical fights before. Like we got in a fight. I sent him to the hospital for a night and a day, whatever. But like I'm not gloating about it, but I'm just saying that's some traumatic shit. Like to think, damn, like I could have hurt him and I didn't even know, but I was protecting myself. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like this entity in the dream knew that that was my weak point. Like I had just stopped doing drugs. I had been trying to change my life or trying to get better. And one thing I've learned is that whenever you start changing towards for the better, your old bad shit always wants to try to pull you in.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, just one drink, just one bump, it's all right, it'll be cool. Or, oh, you're like doing some crazy weird shit that is bad. It's all right. You only do it once in a while, and so like.
Oh, come on, join us for the Ouija board today, and then we won't do it again for another month.
Ouija boards, bro. And going back to the story real quick, this entity that was dressed like my dad was telling me to come in the living room, and I'm having sleep paralysis, and I'm looking and I can see, and it's like dark, and it was my dad at first, and it was trying to be real gentle with me. I started walking down the hallway, and you could feel, I'm getting the chills because it's just, you tap into it, but anyways, I'm sorry. I'm walking down the hallway, and this thing starts morphing, and it starts turning all dark. I can no longer see my dad's face. This thing's laughing at me, growling.
So it revealed itself.
It started revealing itself. Oh, that was a perfect way to put it. And it started telling me like it wanted to overpower me, and I was yelling. And then when you're in sleep paralysis or in your dreams, you can't really throw a punch the way you can in your real life.
Yeah.
So I'm over here trying to scream and tell it to get away, but I was weak. I couldn't throw a punch. If I threw a punch, it was like I was trying to fucking
underwater.
Some underwater Matrix punching a bullet type of shit.
Yeah.
And then I just remember that this thing took me over. It was like fighting me. We were fighting. It was beating me. It was winning. It was doing this thing where like excuse me, sorry.
You're good.
It was doing this thing where I was like in a physical battle with this thing, man.
Yeah, like you're trying to like defend yourself, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. And this thing,
I feel you.
It ended up taking me over, and I lost the fight because in the dream, this thing like ends up taking me over and like kills me. That's when I wake up and I'm hyperventilating. I'm scared. I'm freaking out. I'm looking at Araceli, telling her the dream, and she ends up, just telling me just try to go to bed and blah blah blah. And I continuously have these dreams, and for a while, I had these dreams where I'm running away.
Yeah.
I'm going in circles. I'm running away. The room starts getting smaller. This black entity is chasing me. Yeah. And this space that I'm running through starts turning into a small little hallway,
like
small little triangle.
Tiny. Yeah.
And gets to the point where obviously my big ass can't get through this small hole. And I eventually get caught.
So do you think that would be more like of a metaphor for like a relapse? Like in your mind, do you think that like, does that, because I had experience with this too, and I'll get into it after your story's done.
Yeah.
But do you have like an experience like when you're more stressed out and you start thinking like, shit, I can drop all this shit, go back to this real fucking quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you start having these fucking dreams like we were popping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel you, man. I've been on the same fucking little area you've been at. I'll jump into that later.
Yeah, man. And it's like, I'm constantly. The one thing about sobriety is that you're never fully cured. You know what I mean? Because
there's always a little chance you're gonna slip back in.
It's a forever thing. Like it's like alcoholism. It's like any kind of addiction. You're never fully cured because you never know when you can slip. But it's also every day that you're sober. It's like it's beautiful because you continuously get further and further from their last relapse or whatever.
Yeah.
It's been a few years for me already, and I'm really proud of it. But that's one thing is that every day there's times where like I'll be angry or I'll get sad or I'm like, it's like I'm tired. Oh, you know, I could easily call up said person and get a few bumps or whatever, and
Sorry, I couldn't tell. Like I know there's a coffee machine going off in the background.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was just hearing some weird noises. It wasn't from outside. It wasn't from anywhere but in here. Yeah. And I couldn't tell if it was that or something else. It was just kind of weird. So that's why I was like,
my neighbors have screaming kids outside too. So
yeah. So you can't even hear them.
I'm sure.
Oh, so you're saying it's like from in this little area?
Yeah,
man. You see, that's one thing that's kind of terrifying me is that like we're talking about these things and I'm like over here like don't want to bring it back, you know, because man, like the this entity that was following me in my dreams, or just even if it was like a subconscious thing and my brain was just trying to tell me like, hey Frank, you know, whatever you're trying to get away from is still trying to come back and blah blah blah. It took the forms of all these different nightmares and whatnot.
You know, he actually had nightmares a few weeks ago, I want to say, and it conveniently happened a little bit after he started talking about his dad again, right? And I don't know if he's talked about it yet,
no, he was.
I feel kind of bad because I feel like I'm trying to, like I'm taking over too much. Like I kind of want you guys.
No, I was just gonna say that his dad his dad had a lot of demons, and it bled into his mom, and you know him as a child. So there's a lot of physical, mental, emotional like trauma there. Yeah. So when he was talking about him the other night, I could already see that. You know, you can read someone's face with how they're, especially Frank.
You know me, I wear my heart on my sleeve, bro. Like people see me right away and they're like, "You mad, bro? Why you sad? Why you mad? Like, and, you okay?"
That's
and
me,
I'm
man.
like,
I could see that his face, like he had a lot of like stress carrying in his face, and I was like, "Hey, you know, you want to talk about anything?" And he's like, "You know, I was thinking about my dad," and I'm like, "Fuck!" Like when this happens, like, you know, his emotions kind of spiral. You know what I mean? Like he's learned to deal with how their relationship is now, but also like that's his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for like the next consecutive days, he started having nightmares again, like where he was waking up, I'm not in my body right now. Like he, you know, was praying to God, like, God, please, I don't want to feel this. Like, please take this away, please. And he said that while he was talking, like he didn't feel connection with God. Like he felt like he wasn't himself, and something was literally trying to pull him from himself. And I just kind of sat there and I'm like, well, that's scary. You know, and how do you help your partner, you know, from waking up from something like that? You know what I mean? Like it's not like you can jump in the dream and be like,
leave my husband alone,
like back up.
Be one of those televangelists. Be gone, demon.
There you go.
You are gone.
Coronavirus, you're gone. No, but
just sprays them with a little spritzer. Like, oh, okay, I know I'm deviating a little bit, but have you seen the video of a preacher? They called it the dick-sucking demon.
Oh, shit.
This chick was literally saying she was possessed. That I think this might have been in, like, the African church. She's like,
oh, my gosh. I think.
And he's sitting there, like, she says how the demon supposedly, like, raped her and stuff. And like he sat there, like, spritzing her crotch with holy water.
And she's, like, shaking, like, convulsing. Yeah.
But that's funny that you said that because, like, this dream that I had the other day made me think about that clip, because the lady's running around saying how this demon is taking her over and it's making her like have sex and be a little hoochie mama, whatever. But you really think about it, man, like why wouldn't there be a sex demon that could make you do a bunch of sexy things and be a little...
It probably is, man.
And you know, these demons that take off these things and feed off these energies, off your addictions, your fears, your mentality, and as I got older, what was it? It's been a couple of years now. When I was younger, I was like 18, 19, and I was hanging out with a friend, and she told me, you know what? Like, I go to a church. I'm gonna go to Bible study. You should come. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm by myself. I'm living in Tucson. Like I said, I was living on my own, or living with my cousins, or with a friend, or I was staying alone at this place that we were renting out. And I don't remember which one it was exactly right now, but I just remember I said, cool, this is my opportunity to not be at home by myself. I'm gonna go hang out with my friend.
Yeah.
Go to this church, and I essentially get like exposed, or not saved, because when you get saved as a Christian, you have to do like you have to have these acknowledgments. You gotta, you know, God is your Savior. Jesus Christ died for you. Accept Him into your life, and all this love and everything. And you gotta pray and really mean it. You know what I'm saying? But so this time I didn't get saved, but I was exposed, and I felt like what is in many different religions. You know, it's like you feel the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. I felt the Holy Spirit, man, and then I felt this light. This weight lifted off my shoulders. This was when I was trying to like drink and go out and do drugs with my friends, or
I feel like this was around the time or near when Adelita had passed away, right? So the whole family was like grieving and mourning the tragic loss of his little cousin.
Yeah, our families, my family, we went through this loss, and it hit us all very differently in many different ways.
Yeah.
Every single person in the family, not every person, but I mean, we all obviously mourned, but there was things that you could see, like, you know how they say real recognize real?
Yeah.
I could see other addictions in my family members because I myself was going through it. And without diving too deep into the other addictions I seen, because they might hear this. I'm not trying to call no one out. I just know that I'm owning my addiction, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was drinking, trying to go out, do drugs. And when I went to go to this church, growing up, I was raised as a Catholic. I even tried to go to catechism, and I never really paid attention. It never really clicked. It never really...
He said
it was
would
like,
go because after they get food. That was how he
I fuck with that.
associated.
We used to go to a Baptist church, and after they have like a whole spread, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm Baptist now.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, my mom used to go to the mission
Yeah.
every weekend to light a candle.
Yeah.
We went for the red chili burritos.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Like, so, like, as a
That
kid,
and the
like,
fry
you're
bread.
not really
That's how they get
grasping
you.
everything.
Fry bread,
You just
yeah.
know you get to eat. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So, growing up, I was just like, oh, man, when is this going to be over? I don't want to go. I want to sleep in on Sunday. And but when I was at this exposed time of my life where I was, like, getting into the darkness of the world, I got exposed to this sermon. Like, this dude was doing a Bible study. He was like, anybody who's feeling this, and that, I want you to come up to the front right now. Tell me why I jumped, food. Like, I went through the aisle.
Yeah.
I didn't even care if my butt touched anybody. I was rubbing my butt on people. Like, move, bitch. I'm going up here, you know?
Yeah.
Straight ludicrous that
Yeah,
shit.
bro.
Move, bitch. Get out the way.
Fucking grabbing grannies by the face and shoving them.
Yeah,
Out
man.
my way.
Move it, granny.
I go to the front, and there's, like, 15 other people, different ages, different ethnicities. It's all beautiful. I go up there, and tell me why this dude comes over, and he's like, I'm going to pray over each and every one of you.
Yeah.
This mother effer puts his... I'm sorry, forgive me. This guy... this guy... This
Amen,
guy,
motherfucker.
Oh, man.
Holly fucking hallelujah.
So this
Was
guy...
he Samuel Jackson?
This guy prays over me. He puts his hand on me, and he starts praying over me, and he says, I don't know this gentleman. What's your name? I'm like, Francisco. Please pray. We want to pray over Francisco. Whatever he's going through, his darkness, all his this, all his that. And I just remember completely feeling the chills. I felt like all this weight that I was carrying of sadness and grief and all this mourning and all this not wanting to be alone. It all went away. It got lifted temporarily, because of course this is before I delved in deeply into my addiction. But I got exposed to something that was beautiful, and like I was crying, like crying, bro, like
little glimpse
sobbing.
of hope there. That's
you know,
what
when
it
you
was.
get the booger coming down your nose, and you don't even care. You suck it in, and you're like, me. I was crying, and then I just remember that I felt so beautiful, so light on my feet, and I got exposed to the love of God and then Jesus Christ real quick, and it was beautiful. But I didn't put my energy towards it. I didn't go to Bible studies afterwards. I didn't continue looking into the Bible.
Yeah, like
It was
you
kind
want
of
the
that
whole,
just one and done.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I don't even continue looking into the Bible right now, which
Yeah.
is that's my bad. That's my. I'm not perfect. I'm a human. We're all humans. We all sin. We all do bad things, and we know we should do things that we don't. And you know what I mean. But I didn't put my energy towards learning to become a better person, and I that's when afterwards I started getting these nightmares, and I started doing these drugs. And fast forwarding, I meet Araceli. We start dating each other for about a year, and we start getting heavily into going out and drinking every weekend.
Yeah.
Hardcore, like I'm telling you.
Like we would get.
They
into
had these
ridiculous
drinks on my
arguments.
birthday. They were called blackout drinks. They were purple. They looked like swirly little blackout purple, like a magic
Sparkly.
potion,
The
sparkly.
glitter
thing.
and all that. Yeah.
I went out and I partied for my like 22nd, 23rd
You're
birthday
a
or
wizard,
something.
Frankie.
Yeah, bro, and I drank because the guy was like, "Go ahead, bro, keep drinking. I'll buy you shots."
Yeah.
Super drunk, bro, to the point where like, I don't know why the hell we got in the damn car.
Yeah, we shouldn't have driven that night.
And you know, we get home and a bunch of arguing commences. On a lighter note, we go to Jack in the Box and we buy like $30 worth of food, burritos, breakfast burritos, tacos, all the great stuff from Jack.
All
in
the
the
hits.
Box. Yeah, bro. And we go, and my wife, her car, she's got this little key fob.
Yeah.
You don't have to put the key in to turn it or start it. You just push to start.
Yeah.
You gotta have the key fob in the car for it to turn on or off.
Yeah.
And I remember we get all the food and we get out of the car and she's like, "I gotta pee really bad." So we start hustling to go up the third floor to our apartment. We're running up the apartments, and where's the keys? What are you talking about? You have the keys. I'm like, "No, you do." And she's like, "Babe, I'm about to pee myself." I was like, "I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You're about to pee yourself." And
Yeah.
so sure enough, dude, she we're at the third floor, and she sure enough can't find the keys. I can't find the keys.
Yeah.
We run down backstairs, and I try to go in the car. The car is opening because you can press the button and it opens after you lock it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, where the fuck are the keys? I start looking through the Jack in the Box food, and she's talking shit to me. I'm talking shit to her. We're fighting, and we're both obviously in an altered state. So I end up calling her the B word. She ends up calling me an asshole, and we go back and forth. I literally do this number where I open up the bag of burritos and I tear them open. I'm like, "Do you see the key? Do you see?" And I literally ruined this $40 worth of
How
order
dare
of Jack
you.
in the Box. Going, "Where the
offended.
fuck are the keys? Do you see the keys? You crazy bitch!" And she's like, "Fuck you!" And we start going, and we get out the car, and she's like, "Fuck you, I'm going to my tia's down the road." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, you're gonna walk down there all drunk? I don't give a fuck." And we're going hardcore bad, like cussing at each other, talking shit. And then this car passes by the parking lot of where we're parked. Tell me why you hear the car go, beep, beep. We're like, "What the fuck?" Checking. We already checked our pockets thousands of times.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are the keys? Sure enough, another car passes by. Beep, beep. Turns out the key fob was in the middle of the road where we parked when we were hustling to go upstairs.
Yeah.
And we pick up the keys. The food's all over the place. Like the hot sauce packets, when you're in drive-thru, they're like, "Yeah, give me like 20 of them." And they give you 40.
Handfuls.
All over the fucking place. And
I think we end up going upstairs, and after we kind of calm down and separate for a little bit, we go and sit down, and we're like, "Yo, we gotta change our ways.
we gotta stop.
This isn't healthy. I get that we're young, but we're only getting older in our relationship, and we can't be doing we can't be hurting each other like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even if you say hurtful things, you can put down your partner really bad by doing stuff like that.
The closer you are to someone, the closer the passion, but also the closer, the bigger the amount of disrespect or,
What is it that you hurt the people you love, right? Or the people
You
that love you the
hurt
most is who you hurt.
You love the most.
Yeah.
because their soft spots. So we were talking shit, and this is after that we ended up meeting some friends, and we ended up going to their church, and she went first, and she was like, "Yeah, babe, I'm gonna go to Bible study. I'm gonna get saved," or I got saved.
Yeah.
I was like, how dare you? Like, what the fuck? And
It
we
got
don't
to the
need
point
to
when he was like, "You're choosing God over." Like it was like a.
It was more like
thing.
an ego thing, because as a male, you're like, my lady should only look up to me or look towards me.
She only needs me
for strength or energy or for, providing.
I am the only one.
Yeah, and so this ego, these things that break us down, like we don't need no ego. That's like we don't need ego, bro. But we all have it. We're all human. So like, I was like, how dare you? And we would fight, and to the point where one night she went to the Bible study and she didn't come home till like 9 or 10, and I was calling my mom furious, like I'm about to leave this female, like this is BS. And she shows up like, hey, how are you? I was like, fuck you, and we start fighting, and then we end up coming to this agreement: just come to one Bible study, and it is what it is. And we did, and then we ended up going more and more, to the point where after like a year or two, we ended up getting saved and we got baptized, and I devoted my life to Jesus Christ. And I'm still a sinner, bro, forever for life. It is what it is. I'm part of this world, so I'm exposed to all the bad things, all the sinning and whatnot. And so we get saved, and tell me why I started getting these dreams again.
Yeah.
The devil knew, like, yo, bro, like, you're trying to get away from me, like, you're trying to leave again.
So where do you think you're going, Frank?
Yeah, first it was my addiction, and then it ended up becoming the fact that I wanted to get closer to God.
Yeah.
And so I'm a firm believer that whatever the hell you put your energy towards is what.
It's always gonna come at your best and at your worst. It's never gonna be in the middle.
Yeah, man. So like, we get saved, we get baptized, we become members of this church, and then I start getting these nightmares. We start fighting to the point where we're like yelling at each other's throats till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and then I gotta go to work at 5:30 to get there by 6.
Yeah.
I'm drained, I'm tired, and I get these nightmares again, and they're always taking the form of my dad, which is the trippiest part because I haven't talked to him in years.
Yeah.
Because he was being disrespectful and other things, and
he was gonna come at me like he was gonna hit me.
He flinched at her like he was gonna hit her.
And Francisco had to like stand in
I
front
stood
of him
in
and be
between
like,
them, and
"You
I
need
was
to
like,
leave."
"Not in my house, motherfucker!" Like, like he like wanted to go back to his old ways, and without diving into the story of how and why that happened, it's just the fact that it happened. I was like, "Not here, bro." So after that, we just to this day we still haven't talked.
Yeah.
Like
But
he didn't even go to our wedding. Like
it was always like a thing where like tapping into it real quick. Growing up, my dad was abusive. My family knew, and they would tell him like they would tell my mom, "You need to leave him. You need to leave him."
Yeah.
But when something gets into your brain and your mentality and switches everything around and tells you you're not worth anything, you're not gonna get anyone else to love you, take care of you, all this stuff. You're fat, you're ugly, you're not gonna be loved. And
Why are you describing me?
bro?
Me too, man.
Hey man,
tears.
it's like someone gets into your psyche and your brain, and they can manipulate
You believe
you.
that you don't deserve
That's probably
anything
why
but
it keeps
that.
taking that form, because the demon knows that, hey man, this is what's gonna fuck with him the most.
Yeah.
If I show up as a random little kid, that ain't gonna do anything.
Yeah,
if I
he's
show up
not
as an
scared of
abusive
that.
ass father,
Yeah.
then he's gonna be like, not even that he's scared. It's just that it's something that like fucks with him emotionally, like heavy. Like that's probably why it's taking that form.
Yeah. And
That's a good point. I never.
my dreams started getting darker though. Like I'm growing up. I've been exposed. I've seen some real shit. Like I'm the. I don't even want to say the site, but I'm gonna say the site. When I was growing up, I had friends or people that
Rotten.com?
it was called Rotten.com or
really?
the bestgore.com or some shit.
Oh
they
yeah,
literally
Type that
show
shit in,
like
you see
decapitations. I mean, they
Yeah.
show
he told me.
people that get their heads cut off by helicopter blades, shotgun suicide.
So he says
I
that
mean,
he's seen that, and like that, those are images of real. It's not a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
it's
that's
real. Yeah, like
You're
crime.
really
They
witnessing.
take crime scene photos basically
Yeah,
and
and
put them.
When he told me that, I was like, "Why would you look at that at the age you were?" And he's like, "My cousins, like we're
it's more like a morbid curiosity. Like you want to see
Yeah.
what's.
And you're like, oh man, these people, they would like log into this shit and show you, and you think to yourself like, hey man, like, what is that? I want to see. And then they got cartel showings where they're murdering people, they're fucking cutting their heads off. You see all kinds of nasty images, and you get stuck. I got stuck. I was sitting there and we were looking at this shit for a really long time. You see all these nasty, horrible, real things, and you get exposed to it, and you kind of change. You obviously change.
Yeah.
Your thinking changes. You no longer are in the ignorance part of that
Or like
aspect.
innocence.
Your innocence
Yeah.
goes away, and I started seeing those things, and I was just like, yo, that's crazy. And this was all part of when I was like doing my drugs and
Yeah.
partying and all that. And so like I was in a lot of darkness, and I just remember after I got saved and Araceli and I stopped drinking as much, and because I mean I'll have a beer or I'll have a couple shots of whiskey. Like I don't do it every day. I don't do it every other weekend. Like I'll do it few and far in between. But you know, I just became a daddy, so I'm probably gonna have a couple drinks in the next few weeks. You know, who knows? Celebrate.
Everybody's gonna be toasting.
Yeah, man. So you know, I remember having these dreams of this entity in my dream, like coming at me, and it'd come in different ways. It'd come in sleep paralysis, or it would just happen where I'm walking through the house. There'd be new houses I've never like lived in or been in, but you know, the brain shows you things that you've seen before, and it reflects and it makes these worlds for you in your dreams. And I'm walking through this house, and I remember that this thing turned into my dad.
Yeah.
And it was talking shit to me, and it was telling me how I wasn't gonna get away from him, and it was telling me like, trying to tell me like, you ain't going nowhere, bro. Fuck you, blah blah blah. Of course, it didn't say bro to me. It was talking in Spanish.
That'd be funny as fuck. Sit down, bro.
Where you going, bro?
Where you finna go?
I'm gonna spank you, bro.
Come here, bro.
So me and this thing get in an altercation. We get in a fight, and it starts showing itself to me again. But at this time, it's like morphing back and forth to like a dark entity, and in the face of my
Like it can't
dad.
hide or anymore. Like it's struggling to hide.
And then I
Like
remember
that scene from
that,
Spider-Man 3.
Bro.
Where Venom's coming off, come back. Yeah.
So in this dream, it got real scary for me because it was a couple years ago, and I remember that I grabbed this thing and I pull out a knife, like you know those bread knives that have the edges, the corrugated edges at the end.
Yeah.
I start sawing this motherfucking thing's head off, blood spurting in my face. I'm fucking screaming, I'm yelling, I'm crying, I'm laughing, I'm fucking angry, I'm overdoing it. I cut this thing's head off, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm it continues happening, but I start defeating it now.
Yeah.
And I hadn't had any dreams or nightmares for a while, and you know, there was this one thing that I kind of tried to tell myself, like, you know what, when I have these bad dreams where it's what is it, sleep paralysis, I keep forgetting, I don't know why. When I keep having sleep paralysis, I would wake up and my part of my limbs like would be asleep. Like, you know, when you sit on the toilet too long after watching memes, your leg, you're like, you start limping and whatnot. I'd wake up and it'd always be like my arm or my side or my leg. So I would try to manipulate how I would sleep to make sure I wouldn't make my arm or my legs fall asleep. Yeah. And so I always tied it together. And granted, it's not like I've never woken up with my arms or my legs asleep. It still happens, but I didn't have any of those nightmares for a long time. And up until recently, last weekend, those 2 weeks ago, I had a nightmare again, a sleep paralysis where, excuse me, all these things were coming back. Yeah. But this time I saw just no more faces of my pops or no more faces of people I knew. It was just straight up demons, like ugly faces, distorted, stretched out, bleeding, laughing at me, fire all around me, like laughing at me, telling me you're gonna join us if you keep doing this or that. And one of the things that, like, I don't know if I feel comfortable saying
you don't have to.
But it kind of it dives into the picture. Well, anyways, in the dream, all these demons, they're like laughing at me. They're touching me. They're fighting me. They're like, and then at one point when the dream first started, it was in my house, like here, and it was in my room, and it was like, I woke up in the dream. I'm like supposedly awake. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know, taking the sleep out of my eyes, and I'm still in the dream, but at the time I thought I was awake. I'm like, cool. It's a Saturday, Sunday. I'm about to get up, get on the laptop, whatever. And I'm on the laptop, and then I start realizing that, like, the computer's not working. It's like messing up on me. And it's like, boom, I see these little loading things, and I'm like, shit, I got a virus. And so,
Coronavirus.
bro, I'm like, the laptop got a virus, and I'm freaking out. I just got this laptop. I start flipping the laptop upside down to take out the battery to think, oh, if I disconnect the battery, the virus can't load itself. Ha ha ha. So I'm doing this, and then the laptop, tell me why instead of the big old battery laptops, turns into AAA batteries, and it's like missing one, and the laptop screen is still on, and then it turns into like a FaceTime, and it shows somebody on the other end, and it shows me, and then I start seeing my reflection, and I'm like, yo, my camera's on right now. So I'm looking in the computer, and I see somebody on the other end, and it's like a girl, and she's telling me like, oh, well, what's up, and this and that, and the thing in the computer,
Like,
me,
he himself was looking back at him.
it was
through the screen
my
as
reflection
well.
was looking back at me.
Yeah.
And then it follows me, and I'm like, all right, this is me. Like, what is this? So I start looking at the video, and the thing starts telling me, you think you can get away by disconnecting the battery? Like, that's not going to work, Frank. And then I realize my reflection is no longer following me. I'm not moving, but my reflection in the FaceTime thing it's moving, and it gets closer to the camera.
Yeah.
It gets closer to the camera, and it starts laughing at me. And it starts winking and going like this with the eyebrows, like, what's up, Frank?
Eyebrows.
Like, what's up? You know, and then I'm over here like, oh, man, I'm terrified. And I start coming to the living room, and I start breaking his laptop, but then it turns into a big screen TV. And it's like no longer a laptop, so I can't disconnect it. And it just starts morphing. And then I realize in the dream, Frank, you're no longer awake. You're sleeping, bro. You're in a nightmare. So then in the nightmare, I'm running around the house, and things start showing up, and
He says that it reminded him like of demons, like all around him, like playing, like they not playing like playfully, like they were fucking with him, like laughing and giggling and like trying to get a rise out of him, and they were like it wasn't one thing anymore, it was multiple things around him.
Yeah, it turned into like an environment.
Yeah.
And I remember in the dream, I start trying to scream like in the other ones, and it was like this invisible entity, and now she gets involved. In the dream, she jumps in, and what is that, Francisco? And I'm like, I don't know, like, and she's holding on to me, and I feel my whole back like if she's gripping onto me, and I start trying to scream, but this thing was now invisible. It was like just, I felt a force now. It was a force that was like grabbing onto me and trying to overpower me, and I start screaming like, the power of Christ compels you. And I know that's like a little snippet of the Exorcist movie, but I was just like, something was telling me in the dream, like, you really have that much faith that you think God is going to save you right now? You really think that your faith is strong enough to
like,
save you?
Yeah.
Like that's how close you think you are, kind of thing.
My voice started like getting choked up, like I couldn't talk, and my voice was starting to crackle, because when it said, you think your faith is strong enough, I started doubting myself. I started like caving into myself, and I remember that I snapped and I said, you know what? Yeah, like God is gonna save me. Started cussing at it. Started saying the power of Christ will compel you, and I started remembering in the dream that my voice got louder, and the entity, the force that I felt that was trying to overpower me, it started feeling less and less. So I started getting stronger, and I started yelling, the power of Christ compels you, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And then boom, I wake up. And I'm just like, what the hell? And I look around, and I'm scared, and this time I'm really awake. The dream's ended, but you know when you wake up from a dream or a nightmare, it's all fresh. Yeah. So you're still in it. And I was half asleep to the point where, like, I knew I was awake this time. I looked over at Araceli, and I was just like, man, I can't go back to sleep. Yeah. If I go back to sleep, I might dive back into that dream that I just had. Yeah. So I'm scared. I'm looking around, and in my room, I have, instead of like you know the blinds, you have the blinds that go up and down. You can flip them open. But then I have like a blanket over it, like a makeshift blanket. Yeah. So it's like those thin 99-cent store makeshift blankets. Right. And you can see through the blanket, and like the sun was starting to poke out. So in the blanket itself, it's kind of thin, so you could see darker parts of cotton, but I could see images in the cotton. I could see images of like skulls. I could see images of like demon heads with their mouths open, and then I could see a bunch of demons in a circle. And me, I have a great imagination. not great. Like, oh, my imagination is great.
So how many imaginary friends do you have?
Bro, shoot, man.
He's like, none.
Captain Sparkles, come out.
I want to bring to the stage.
Special
Special guest today on the podcast.
She's like, well, he doesn't have a name, but all you need to know is he wears cowboy boots and he has assless chaps.
This is my friend Jorge right here.
I was gonna say,
That's Gardner Tim.
is that your Papa Jeff?
That is Papa Jeff.
So, like, I start seeing these images and I start seeing them in the blanket, bro. And I'm just like, okay, Frank, don't go to sleep because you're going to get back in the dream and that's terrifying. And I start thinking to myself, I need to make a prayer before I go back to sleep. And I start nodding off and I shake because I'm like, don't go to sleep. And I remember that I tried to pray. Usually when I pray, I feel like I go into like a state of like, I close my eyes. It's like I'm about to enter the like imaginary meditation. Chat with God. And I'm just like, hey bro, me again, you know?
Yeah.
And I go into this zone where I feel a connection.
Yeah.
I feel like a connection to God, and I'm like,
the
hey.
Wi-Fi connects.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've got 3 bars.
I know that sounds crazy to other people with different beliefs,
no, man,
but
I understand what you mean.
you know, spiritually, I feel this connection, and I have faith in that belief that I have, and like at this moment, after I woke up from this nightmare of this thing mocking me and laughing at me, and I'm still seeing these images in my blanket, I start praying, but I feel like it's like the Wi-Fi is going. Unable to connect. Check your router.
Yeah.
So then I start trying to check my router. Like I'm sitting there in my head like, what's going on? And I start seeing these images in my head of things that I've never seen in real life.
Yeah.
They're body parts. I'm not going to lie. It's like LOL, but I saw penises with blood and I saw penises and sex and like gore, like head, like gore, exactly. That's the word.
Said, like, I've never seen anything like
but
that.
Then we were just talking about. I'm like, in the past, I've seen images like that. I've seen porn. We've all seen porn. I've seen dicks. So my brain was like, dicks, penis, blood. Ah.
What kind of porn are you watching?
Well, I don't watch that kind of porn.
Goes dick, penis, blood.
But this is the images I was seeing. Yeah, this is
penis, blood.
penis, blood, in that order. But no, I was seeing these things while I was like awake, and I was just thinking to myself like, "Yo, this is terrifying." And these things are cackling, and like I felt like I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was there, but I felt like if you know when you can get remote access, you give someone remote access to your computer, they can move your mouse around, open your files. That sounds terrifying when you say it out loud, but I felt like someone had remote access to me. And I was scared. It's still scary because it's still fresh. But this type of deal that was going on was like my connectivity to my prayer to God to save me at this point or to help me get back to sleep without continuing this nightmare. It wasn't working. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm seeing all these scary images. I'm terrified. Like I stayed awake for like 15 minutes just wrestling with myself and these images. And then I said, you know what? If I can't connect right now, I'm still going to pray, but I'm going to do it offline mode. So, bro, in my head, metaphorically, of course, I'm like, dear God, please, like, get me away from these evil things. Take these images out of my head. Take these bad things out of my head. Please protect me. Give me the God of armor. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me the strength that I need to fight these things off and give me everything that I need to just get back to bed because we had to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
So, boom, I fall back asleep and then I wake up and I go to work. But because I was repeating these things to myself, I still went to work like hazy and I had these nightmares and they're still fresh. Like I remember them. I mean, I just told you guys about it.
Yeah,
but
like you're still dwelling on it, like you're replaying it.
Yeah, and then.
Do you almost feel like you don't understand why you dreamt that? Like it's like, why would that even, like why would those images like appear if that's not something, you know what I mean? Like usually our dreams consist of faces you've passed by and you'll dream of people and you're like, I don't know who that is, and it's you've seen that person somewhere.
Maybe it's more like of a message though. Because if you're seeing this thing and you say that you're not as into your faith as you were before, and you are going through a period of change right now, so maybe that's what brings on. Because personally, for me, whenever I have sleep paralysis, it's like either when I'm fucking up or I'm doing something like I know I'm not supposed to do, or it's like there's a change that's coming through, and I'm like stressing about it,
Yeah.
and then that's when I'm like I have like dreams.
disconnected.
Yeah, because I don't ever dream. Like I don't dream at all. But when I do have a dream, every once in a while, it's like something like I know that it's a message somebody,
your brain telling
somebody, something's trying to get through
Get your
to me.
finger out of there, Rudy.
Yeah, you know you're not supposed to do that, cocksucker.
Cocksucker!
You know, but can I jump into the story real quick?
Of course, bro. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I have sleep paralysis, but I don't have it like, oh, it's once every like 7 years.
Yeah.
When I get sleep paralysis, I'll get it every single night for like a month and a half.
That's terrible.
Which is terrifying because my sleep paralysis isn't like dreams. Like I'm awake. Like I know I'm awake. And this first started when I was like, so I want to say like high school, like junior year high school. I was hanging out with some sketch people. And one of my best friends, he was a drug dealer. Like, he had all the good shit. Like, little dorky ass kid, little bowl cut.
Yeah.
Troqueando cut. Yeah. No, he was a little white dude. I'm not gonna say his name. Let's call him Josh.
Okay, cool. Fucking Josh. What's up,
Fucking
Josh?
What's up? No, but he had all the shit, dude. He'd be like, "What do you need? I can get you the shit." And the first 2 classes that me and him had, like, we had like a weird rotating schedule. Yeah. So we used to go to this place we called Narnia, which was like this weird little alley, like broken in, like where all the homeless people used to hang out.
Was it in a wardrobe?
No,
Yeah.
I wish it was a wardrobe. It was a sketchy part of the desert.
It was dark energies, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
we would go into that alleyway and we'd always get high with like different shit. Like, oh, I got some acid today. You want some acid? I was like, fuck yeah, I want some acid. So we do acid. We do coke. We smoke weed. I think we did like fucking ecstasy once.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Right.
But we do this shit before we'd go to school, and then we'd just be fucking just like chilling out and whatnot.
Tripping
and,
out in class.
Yeah, this is when I first got into like fucking like darker media and shit. Like I'd be listening like fucking metal and shit. I mean, I still do, but
Yeah.
How dare you?
whatever, man. You know what I mean. You can't tell me that metal ain't satanic at some point.
You're right.
And then
But,
like
depends.
with you being a kid, like your brain's still developing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Even if you're a teenager, you're still developing into the young adult you're gonna be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So at this point, I was going through that, and then at the same time, I was like starting to like battle with like depression and anxiety, and my way to handle that shit, because you guys are Mexican, you know that like in Mexican culture, we don't really talk about like mental health.
Even,
Like, oh,
even
you're just
now,
sad.
just in any kind of culture.
Yeah,
like,
you're just like, oh, you're just sad.
like,
Like, no, you'll be
like,
fine.
They say, hey, don't be a sissy, or hey, men are not allowed
Yeah,
to
men
talk
don't
about
cry.
their mental health.
But at this point, I was like really like depressed, like real bad, to the point where I hate to say it, but I try to kind of.
Yeah.
I had this little jar of pills that they gave me for what's it called vertigo,
Yeah.
and I just fucking threw all them back. I was like, all right, if I wake up, I wake up. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
And
That's the point you had got into.
yeah, it's like that point, like drugs weren't doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Numbing. They weren't
Yeah,
numbing.
yeah, they weren't numbing me anymore. And it was around this time when I started having like the sleep paralysis and shit. I would wake up, and in my room kind of like the door when you open it, it leads into like the main hallway.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the story for a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But I would wake up and I'd just be like, fucking, I can't move and shit. But at the corner of my fucking room, I could make out like a figure. And every single night, the figure would get closer and closer and closer.
That's
but
terrifying.
so by like day, like fucking night, like 5 or 6, I could tell it was a figure with like an unhinged jaw off to the side.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
open like off to the side, yeah.
Well,
but
so-
it was like an older lady.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Mirrors?
Yes.
So kind of like that. You've seen Mirrors?
No,
I don't think I
So
have.
the premise of it is you're looking in a mirror. Whatever happens that the mirror does happens to you. A girl rips her own jaw off. So that's
I
what
think I
I,
remember
picture
this
when you
actually,
say
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so it was something like that, but I'd be like scared and I'd be like trying to pray, but like in my head I can't get the words together. And every time I try to pray and I'd fail, the lady would just smile. She'd be like,
Oh.
but it's creepy because it's fucking
The
jaws
jaw's all
off.
messed
Yeah,
up.
so she just smiled, and the next day I'd feel worse than the day before. Like I'd feel like tired. I feel fucking angry. I'd feel sad for no fucking reason, no apparent.
Vulnerable.
And, yeah, and then I'd get to school and I'd be like, "Hey, you want to get high?"
Like, why not?
Fuck it, I had a rough night. What you got today?
Yeah.
Like a fucked up lunchable.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have some acid and a cigarette.
Yeah.
And a
Shit,
cheese
man.
Eventually you get to a Jeffrey.
Fucking Jeffrey.
There's no fucking walls. Stroke the wall. Just stroke the furry wall.
There's no fucking walls.
What's wrong with him? Oh,
Stroke
bro,
the
he
fur-
had the Jeffrey.
Then
This is
stroke
geometry class playing with shapes.
If you can't stroke a furry wall, stroke the furry balls.
Shit.
God no. But it was to that point. So by the last night that I can remember this first time, I was awake, but this time because usually I wake up, but I'd be on my back and I just looking down. This time I was sideways, which was fucking terrifying within itself because it makes it harder to breathe. And I'm staring out into the hallway. I was like, all right, here comes unhinged jaw lady. And no, I see something darting from one end of the hall to the other end, like just the door opening, running from one side to the other side to the other side, and then it starts slowing down. I can start making out features like there's a tail. Why the fuck does it have a tail? Fucking jaw lady didn't have a tail.
Right.
And then it starts slowing down, but this thing's like to my doorway, so at least like 6 feet, and it's fucking heavy set, and it stops and it just fucking looks in, like it's walking like forward, like how you walk and you can only see him sideways, like profile way. He stops, he turns, he looks at me, and he fucking turns his body like he starts walking into the room, and I could only kind of make out like the figures, like fucking heavy set dude, like what you think a demon would look like. It's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
But no horns though. That's the
Well,
kicker.
oddly enough, it almost sounds like you're describing Satan in South Park.
Oh, South Park.
No, not that heavy set. Like I mean heavy, but like built.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, it starts like walking in, and I can hear the boom, boom, which is weird because I'm awake. Like if I'm hearing this, are other people hearing this?
Right.
Nobody gonna come in and help me?
Save me.
Save me, save me, cocksuckers. But yeah, no. And then at that point, he had gone like right to the edge of my bed, and I was like, you know what, fuck, I'm just gonna close my eyes. And I closed my eyes, and then
If I can't see it, it can't see
Yeah.
me.
Right, yeah.
It's like a T-Rex. You don't move. It can't
It's
see
fucking
you.
exactly. But like I closed my eyes and I can hear it breathing. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get murdered, aren't I? And then I just fall asleep. And then the next night I wake up and I was like, what the fuck was that? And then I told my mom, and she's all like, you know, why this shit's happening, right? I was like, no, because at like this point I haven't talked to anybody in my family. Like, even my closest friend is my sister, and I never told her like, oh, I was depressed. I tried killing myself. Till like now that I got older, like I'm 24 right now. I didn't start talking about the shit till like I was like 22.
Yeah.
Like I never like
So you
talking.
held it by yourself for a long time.
Yeah, for the longest time I did. Yeah. And I was like, shit, does my mom know? I was like, did she find the empty bottle? I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're straying from your faith. Because that's true. Because I was going to church every single Sunday. Every Wednesday, I'd go and I'd help take care of kids. I was in the ministry.
Yeah.
Like, I was helping, like, with these kids. I was giving them lessons every Sunday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then at this point, I was starting to question my faith. And, like, I was straying from it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I've
shit.
been
there.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're right. So I started going to church and then kind of chills out. I stopped hanging out with fucking Josh.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I was like,
You,
wait,
Josh.
yeah, my
Funny
fucking-
thing is, if Josh from work actually hears this, he's gonna be like, "What the fuck did I do?"
Man, fuck him too. I don't know who it is. but fuck
I
him
don't
too.
even know who you are, Josh, but fuck you too, bro.
Yeah, so that was the first time, and then this happened the second time, which was kind of the same thing. It happened when I was working at the Boys and Girls Club.
Were you like the same age or were you older?
No. So
Like
when I
years
first
past?
started, I was like 16.
Okay.
When the other stuff happened, I was maybe like 19, 20.
So it's like it's like a big amount of time before you starts
Having this again.
happening again.
Yeah.
That's years in between.
Yeah, so this is when I started getting more into like the violent shit. Like I started like studying the occult. I don't know why I decided to do that.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
don't know. What that is.
Just
So my question is, because you've all basically brought up mention of demons of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever actually studied demonology and all the different demons and anything like
Apart
that?
from what I've
I
seen,
sort of
like in
dove
movies
into that
and
for
shit.
a bit. Yeah, that's what I was going
So
to say.
I mean,
I know movies.
literally, there's roughly a major demon for every letter in the alphabet.
Really?
The one that I always use is Abagor, because you think of
Why are you
Yeah, no.
doing that?
I'm gonna listen to that. It's scary.
No, I mean you think how you said about a sex demon, things like that,
Yeah.
a different demon for different things.
Oh, you
Yeah.
don't like
Well, I mean, if you
addiction?
you think about it,
There is.
I'm not exactly sure of the number that consists of a legion,
Yeah.
but he commands 60 legions of Hell's army,
Yeah.
and I believe that could be roughly around 1,000, so 60,000. So it's one of those things where, I mean, there could be multiple different demons for each thing. And that's where it brought me to that demon that you felt you saw, being you couldn't fully, I mean, actually you said you could make it out, and to you that's what you would picture a demon. Knowing anything about demonology and how demons also have a hierarchy, do you think instead of just being some like lesser demon,
random one,
it was more one of the like major?
I don't know, because I was thinking that that this has run through my head like major times already. But what I was thinking is like, I think the bigger demon was like something bigger, because I felt like something
heavier.
Because with the jaw lady, it was just like I was scared. Like I was terrified. I was like, I didn't feel anything else. But like with the bigger thing, it had like a presence to it. Like I felt it before I saw it. I felt fucking nauseous. I felt fucking like I wanted to cry. Like I can't fucking cry. And when it fucking like hit the room, I felt like
you were just powerless. Like
fucking like depressed. Like I've been depressed, but this is like fucking like, just go kill yourself. Like you're at this fucking point. Like just fucking do it already. And I felt like that, and I was laying down. I was like, what the fuck is going on with me? And then I'm so fucked up that this is happening. And then that's when this like fucking saw it. I was like, that's what it is.
When you were explaining that, it kind of makes me feel like he was looking for you. Yeah. Like when you're saying he was running back and forth, it almost felt like he was desperate to find you. And when he realized where you were, you said that he stopped. He stopped in his tracks and he looked at you.
Like, hey,
it's because
buddy.
he's like, oh, I know where he's at now.
Hey, buddy.
Because that's,
come to Pappy.
And
jorts.
that's what it kind of feels like. Is like it was almost looking like it was. It was aiming.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, and it that's kind of what I pictured. Like when you're explaining to me, it's kind of like a kid running around looking for mom, right?
Yeah.
Like they're freaking out, like where's mom? And that kind of reminded me of like he was running and then he slowed down his pace and then he stopped in his tracks when he realized where you were, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like it's like specifically wanting to mess with you at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to reach you, get to you, breathe on you. You did say you felt it breathing, and it wanted to let you know it was there.
Like him.
Yeah, like you can fucking close your eyes, but I'm still gonna be here.
And the reason I bring that up is because I've never had sleep paralysis in my entire life. I didn't even know how sleep paralysis was. And when we had moved to one of his grandmother's trailers on the acres out there, and
I think he
St.
might have
David,
told me some of these stories.
we were living out there, and we had just moved in, and it was whatever, grandma was literally 20 feet away, so it wasn't anything to be afraid of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of our first nights there, when you walk into this trailer that we lived in, it was a 1-bedroom trailer, right? So our bed, we placed our bed. So if this is like the end of the trailer, and like this is the hallway and this is like the kitchen, let's say our bed is this way. So when our door is open and I open my eyes, you see straight all the way down to the kitchen. Mm-hmm. You know how trailers are? It's literally one whole hallway kind of thing.
Yeah.
The night that we were sleeping, one of our first nights that we were sleeping there, you could hear creaking, right? And we thought his brother had come back to come spend the night that night, to hang out with us. And you could hear walking in like the kitchen area where the front door is at, and Francisco yells, Andres, is that you? And it stops. Like in its tracks, it stops, and then it goes, something sounds like a box or something goes dunk on the floor like that. And we stay stuck because I'm like, did we not lock the front door? Mind you, it's pitch black out there.
Yeah.
So if somebody crazy was walking around and pulling on doors and our door was open, so we thought someone physically had walked into our trailer.
It's crazy because, like, when you tell your story and you forget about certain things because either you block them out or it's been a while. Yeah. To hear her telling her part of the same story that I've told other people, I've told you about, and it's like, yo, dude, like, it gives me the chills because, like, there's been, like, I forgot about that. But now if she's talking about it, I'm reliving it, and I'm, like, going back to that place, bro.
That feeling. And we had shrugged that off because we walked all the way through, like if someone's there, like we're about to throw down kind of thing.
Yeah.
We walk all the way down and no one's there and the door is locked. So we're like, oh, it's the trailer creaking. It's normal
going back
for
to
a
the
trailer
beginning.
to creak,
going back
right?
to the beginning of the podcast, like we said, we were trying to rationalize. Like,
and so we try to make it like it was settling. The wind moves the underneath. Trailers, how they're like lifted all weird and everything's underneath.
It's just settling. Yeah.
So we had told our grandma about it the next day, and she was like, same thing in Hispanic thing. Oh, it's whatever. The wind. It was windy last night. It probably moved the bottom, the boards, whatever. And we're like, oh, okay, that's what it was.
None of said.
And we only lived there for like a month. Like, that's as long as we could take it there. Like, that's how bad our...
Are you sure? I thought it was a little longer.
No, babe, we were there like a month.
Yeah, and we were traveling back from Tucson to this place.
It was 45
because we were looking for
minutes
new apartments over here in town, and
Yeah.
just back and forth.
And as the days passed and even hours in that house, it felt heavy. And remember, we were talking about like how places feel heavy and dark. And when we were cleaning out the cabinets...
No, wait. Save that for the end. That'll be the kicker.
Okay.
Let me jump in right here. So, remember how I've been talking about energies and then how things linger and then these things feed into shit. After that first initial experience, we were just like, oh man, and then we would continuously have nights where we try to stay up and be in the other room and play. I think it was PS2 at the time. We were playing the PS2, and we worked different shifts. It would literally, we would never see each other. I would come back from Tucson, I'd get inside the house, maybe I'd have like an hour with her, but she'd have to wake up to drive an hour to get to Tucson.
And I worked the evening shift, so I get
so,
out at 10 at night.
So I'd come in the morning and she'd be leaving. I couldn't sleep in the morning because the sun is out, you know? So I was sleep deprived, I was scared. She wasn't there to protect me because I'm not gonna lie, Araceli's like my rock, bro. So I look towards her for strength a lot of the time.
She's from Compton, bro. That's why.
Yeah, bro. She's from Compton, dog. And so
real motherfucking G.
Yeah. So my bandana handle some shit.
So in this trailer, after that first initially happened, we were just like scared, and we're already feeding into the scary negativity part of it. And my grandmother had actually rented out the trailer to other people before us because we all literally left from St. David to Tucson. So it was like, hey, I'm gonna make some money,
the help,
and I need some help, so I'm gonna rent out the trailer to said person. This person was there for months, ended up not paying my grandmother, ended up leaving, months and months, no contact. Just she would dodge my grandmother every time that she'd come home, sleep, stay there, whatever, leave. My grandmother could never catch her to tell her, "Where's my rent, motherfucker?" So
where's my money?
Where's my money, bitch? So this lady ends up leaving, and she leaves a bunch of her stuff behind.
Yeah.
And the house, the trailer, has a bunch of random things in the house that the lady just said, "Forget it, I'm gonna leave it behind." And when we move in, like we just throw whatever we found away, and we didn't really do deep cleans or nothing because I grew up in this trailer. Like, I had lived there with my mom, my brother, and so I knew the house creaked.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're in a full house, you don't really feel as scared as you do when you're by yourself. So in this trailer, I was just like, all right, like, I've been here before. This is familiar grounds for me. It's not that scary. But that night, that big old thump happened. It was just kind of like, oh man, this is terrifying. Like we heard all that, and we ended up hearing that thump, and we were just like, all right, let's play it off. Let's tell our grandma, see what she says.
Yeah.
And then she ends up telling us, oh, it's just the house creaking, whatever. And then we have multiple times where she starts feeling sleep paralysis, and maybe she can tell you her stories of it. But I know that there'd be times where I wouldn't sleep. She would be awake, or she'd be like laying next to me, and she'd tell me, can you sleep on the outer edge, please?
Yeah.
That way I was closer to the hallway. And in case anything came in, I'd be the first defense. And so sure enough, we had different experiences where we'd be awake.
Yeah.
And literally the room is like from here to right there. We used to not have a door in that hallway from like the entrance and the living room and the kitchen. So there was a door that used to be there, but it was off the hinges, and we would just cover it with like a curtain.
Yeah.
And you know,
this is what I remember.
The curtain, man. And this curtain would be in front of the door, and there's not really good heating, ventilation, or not. Like we had a heater that you turn on and click.
Yeah.
You click it with gas, and it would turn on, and then you mess with the bricks and turn on the heat.
Yeah.
And we also had like a swamp cooler. The swamp cooler, when it's hot, doesn't really do much. We all know AC is king right now. But the house used to get really, really cold, like to where your fingers would get cold, and they would turn numb. Like you would be like, I don't know how to get warm in this bitch.
Yeah.
And I remember that since there was no door to the living room or the kitchen, you could hear the creaking in the next room, and we'd hear steps.
Yeah.
We'd hear steps, and we'd be like, "Yo, what is that?" And it got to the point where we were so used to hearing steps that it's like they would get worse over time because we were ignoring it.
Yeah.
We'd look at each other, and the light would be on. We'd be playing the TV, and we'd just be like, "It is what it is. What are we gonna do? We're here because of circumstance." And then it started getting to the point where it would thump louder, and things would like fall, and like I'd open up the curtain, and I'd get the chills, and I'd get scared, and I would like yell, and I'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here," whatever, and so I feel like that's why a lot of times in my nightmares too, I have those flashbacks of when in real life I would get in the hallway and be like, "You need to get out of here," whatever. And at this point, I remember I had sleep paralysis in there, and we would hear the footsteps, and then we'd hear things fall, and we would hear creaking, and we would hear. There was one night where we actually heard the door open. Yeah. And my brother actually came in, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So other times when it wasn't my brother, we would think, "Oh, it's my brother. He's probably sleeping in the living room." So we would get barely any sleep in this place. And I remember one night we were sleeping, and it would get really windy out there. And this trailer's old. It's old, so and you know those doors that like have the little hinge, the little chain that connects to the frame. So when you open it, it doesn't swing open. The chain's broken. The back door. There was a back door right outside of our freaking room.
That was my childhood. My house that I lived in as a kid, at the foot of my bed, was a fucking back door with that weird frosted glass. So
yes, that little skinny one, the long elongated one. Yep. Yeah. So we would look out, and the backyard was we ended up putting a little fence to make ourselves a little yard. Yeah. And you look through that little window, pitch black. No, you can't see nothing. You turn on the little light for the back, barely see in front of the steps, and you let your mind start take over, and you start using your imagination. You see things, the wind, the trees, and there'd be times where like the farmers around the area would be working with chainsaws. That's the dog. They love to knock on the door, cocksuckers. And so we would see. We use our imagination. Long story short, we used to have these things where we'd be scared, man. We would try to go to sleep, and we would try to kind of do this thing where like you sleep on the outside of the bed, and like, "Babe, I just had sleep paralysis." "Oh, well, suck it up. You gotta go to work right now."
What it was?
No.
Okay.
The door one night when it's real windy, we're scared because we start hearing the thumps. They get real loud. Yeah. And they start coming from the other side of the kitchen, and where the living room was, where we would usually hear it. Yeah. It came into the hallway. And then tell me why you could hear like the wind like through the trailer. Yeah. Because I'm sure there was holes inside the trailer somewhere, but we ended up hearing boom, the back door swings open, and then it starts becoming an every night thing where I would constantly have to get up to open or to close the door, and I would have to like try to makeshift somehow so that if it did swing open again, it wouldn't open.
You had to tie it to something.
I had to tie the doorknob to like something inside the trailer, but also put a brick behind the outside of the door, so if it did try to swing, it would just hit the brick.
So the door didn't lock.
The door wouldn't lock anymore after that. After it started swinging,
it wouldn't even click when you
know,
closed
where it clicks and you're like, safety. No, it was like, ha ha. If you guys
like the old bar Western movies that just swing.
Yeah. And
went straight Jurassic Park status. He didn't say the magic word.
So we start getting desperate, bro. We start thinking we're gonna sage the house. So we get sage. We had my grandmother come in and like bless the house, the corners, the edges, everything, bro. She starts praying. She touches the doorways. We start doing it ourselves too, or I think we did it by ourselves. But either way, we honestly didn't really know what the hell we were doing. Yeah. So we start putting sage around the house, the corners, the edges. The house is full of sage smoke. Yeah. And we go to sleep that night, and we think everything's cool. It gets worse. It gets worse, bro. Obviously,
sage is never
because it takes away negative energy, but you gotta put like like a sweet grass or something to help positive energies come back in. But we didn't know that back then, and even other things like that. It was just like we pissed this thing off because now
You kick something out small and you let something in bigger.
bro, probably shoot. But going back to it, tell them about your sleep paralysis parts where I'd be supposedly there.
Okay, so like I said, I had never going back to I'd never like dealt with sleep paralysis, so I couldn't really pinpoint what I was feeling or what was happening. Again, we work different shifts, so when I was asleep in the morning time, I sleep a little bit longer because I work the later shift.
Yeah.
So usually Francisco would get home and I would still be asleep. I'd wake up, get ready, and we'd kind of switch. It started off small where I would hear someone in the kitchen, and I like to sleep on my side. So if I open up my eyes, I'm looking straight all the way down the whole house, the whole trailer. If someone's in the living room, I'd see them or hear them, or the kitchen the same. And it started like with like walking or like moving things around, right? So like they're moving dishes or something.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, oh, Francisco just got home. Like that's automatically where like my calmness would want to kick in is, oh, he just got home. And I remember I'd want to wake up like, oh, hey babe, you're home kind of thing. And I remember it was like, no, just close your eyes. Like you're not awake right now. And I remember I tried to move and it wasn't. And again, I wanted it to be like, oh, my arm's probably asleep, right? So like you want to, again, blame it on something physically that's happening. I didn't tell him about it because I was like, oh, it was just a dream, right? I tried to play it off like it was nothing. And it started progressing to like where I started hearing it like walk towards me then. I couldn't see anything, but something was walking towards me and it would stop where the bathroom was at. And it wouldn't come past the room. But it would stop at the bathroom, and I still didn't really tell him anything. And this whole time, Francisco was really struggling. Like, his fear was like off the charts. Like, he couldn't sleep. Like, he couldn't think straight.
Cry,
like,
bro, because I was so fucking scared, and I was just at my wit's end of how to deal
I
with
don't think
this.
I've ever felt a house how that house felt, and it was always like we were crazy. Like, that's not real. What you guys are kind of feeling, right?
Yeah.
Family members would tell us, you guys are it's the house creaking, you guys are getting used to it. I never felt nothing when I was in there, and people always say that to people. They get all skeptic until it happens to them.
Yeah, they want to
like
kind of
with
like
Sasquatch,
the
bro.
Yeah.
And so when it got really bad and I finally decided to tell Francisco was I had heard the door open, someone walked in, and they stopped in the living room. So you could see the living room, but just like to walk past it, there was like a little den where you put like the TV and like the couches, and that's where it was coming from. And it was, babe, I'm home, babe. And I opened up my eyes and I was looking and I wanted to scream. Like inside me, I knew it wasn't Francisco. I knew he wasn't home yet. And it was, I'm home, babe. And it started getting like deeper. Like it couldn't mimic Francisco's voice longer than babe, right?
Yeah.
And it was just an overwhelming feeling of, I kept telling myself, get up, just get up already. Please, Araceli, please wake up. Like, you need to open up your eyes. And I remember biting the inside of my cheeks hard. Like, I opened up the inside of my cheek because I was biting it, trying to wake myself up. Like, you're gonna wake up from the pain of this then. And I'm biting and biting and biting. And then I was like, I can't do anything. So in my head, I'm like, close your eyes. Close your eyes, fall back asleep, and then wake up. And I remember closing my eyes and waking up again. And it was, babe. Like, it was like, I'm still here kind of thing. And I started biting again. But my insides of my cheeks felt sore. Like, I had already done this. And I ended up just falling asleep again. And when I woke up, I could taste the iron of the blood from the inside of my cheeks of me ripping them from biting them.
Yeah.
So that means I was awake and I was physically hurting myself, but I couldn't feel it. My mouth felt numb. My body felt heavy. Like I couldn't lift my body or like lift my head from the pillow. And it almost felt like my head was sinking.
Yeah.
Not that anybody was pushing in, but I felt like heavy.
yeah,
like my head was
yeah.
sinking into the pillow like that.
It's a fairly common thing in sleep paralysis too. Yeah.
And I didn't know what sleep paralysis was. And when I was telling Francisco, his younger brother was there, and he's like, "Oh, that's called sleep paralysis, Araceli, what you're having." And I said, "What is that?" And he's like, "I don't know how to really explain it." He's like, "But I've had it every day. I've lived here with Nana." And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I hate sleeping at night. I cannot stand when the sun goes down because I hate sleep. Every night since I've lived with grandma in the trailer next door, I've had sleep paralysis. And it got to the point where I was just like, just another night. I gotta sleep.
We had to get used to it.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, I'm like, and you've been dealing with that alone? He's like, well, yeah. He's like, nobody believes me. But we had never known, and I had never gone through it. So at that point...
Or what do they say? They say, it's because you're a malcriado. You don't know how to behave.
And at that point, hearing Francisco talk about finding old objects, and so it kind of made me feel like this land dated way back, right? So who's to say people didn't?
Yeah, so he never told us what he found, though.
He didn't.
Yeah, what you
He
guys
never
found.
did. I remember one time he did say that something would go into the room and sit at the end of his bed.
Oh, shit.
Like he would feel where his feet were at sink, where this thing would sit, and it would sit there for hours, he said.
Yeah.
And other than that, he didn't really get into details about anything else. Yeah, I think he just didn't want to talk about it, to be honest.
I have a fucking story from the second half of the sleep process that sounds exactly like that shit.
Yeah. We ended up, one day I was like deep cleaning. I started deep cleaning.
Yeah.
And I knew this lady who lived there before us, and it turns out she was a drug addict. She's like hardcore, like she would do meth and inject herself with drugs.
Yeah.
And I believe that's probably why she couldn't pay my grandmother the rent, because she was a drug addict. And I remember after all this stuff was happening, all these experiences we had, I went into the kitchen, and the cupboards, they were really tall, like you couldn't reach in, like you had to like step on something.
And like they're deep.
I would have to get in. I got on top of the counter, as tall as I am. I still got on top of the counter, and I reached in, and I saw this black book, thick black book, food, like not super thick, but it was a thick book, and I ended.
Little thickums.
Yeah, it was in one of them
2
nice little
C's,
thick.
not 3.
Yeah, so I get the book, bro, and I pull it out. It's all black, red letters, like foil red letters.
Yeah.
And I think the name was Junkie. The name said Junkie on it or something, and it was like a derogatory term for a drug addict. Yeah. And I remember I opened it up and I started reading it, and I didn't read it, but I opened it and I went to the end, and it was pretty much, it was dark. It was talking about the experiences of a drug addict and what they've gone through, and pretty much like it was something to me, reflecting now. It was something that this person, it belonged probably to the last tenant.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show there was some negative energy. Like she was a drug addict. She did, we can only imagine what kind of stuff she did. But me knowing how dark I got with just cocaine, I can only imagine what she went through with meth and other drugs like that.
Yeah.
So this was something that I grabbed and I threw away right away after that. And things started calming down, but also we ended up leaving. We were just like, hey, babe, I found a trailer. Or no, I'm sorry. We found an apartment. I'm going to get it under my name. Blah, blah, blah. Let's move. Let's go. We got out of there.
There was like no planning. Like we didn't plan like, oh, we're going to give ourselves whatever amount of time. We got to pack our stuff. It was like from 1 week to the next weekend, we were gone.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't live there anymore. I didn't like what I was experiencing at all, especially after never experienced it.
So are those, is that trailer still around?
Yeah. Well, they sold the property.
My grandmother ended up selling the property and left the trailers there because she was running a business there, a daycare at the other trailer. And they added on to it. They put ramps. It was like a business.
Yeah.
And she ran a daycare there. And so you had people constantly coming in and out, different energies, different people, different things. And after we left, we took all our stuff and left, and we've never been back. We've passed by it if we go to Douglas or Agua Prieta or whatever. But the trailers are still there. Like they belong to some other owner now. I think he rents them out, or I don't know. I haven't heard from it or about it, but we left that, man. And
So before the beginning of the story, you said that you guys had found something in there. Was that the book?
That was the book.
It was the book, and then it was just I believe that it was connected to what might have been going on, because I don't know what the hell that lady was doing there or why she was reading this dark ass book, and I didn't,
or the dark state of mind she was in.
Yeah, because energies, like I said, they're real, dog. Like for if anything, she could have just left all those negative energies, and they were manifesting into my fears and things that we were scared of, and
just seeping into your subconscious.
So one thing I've noticed, and I'll say this episode has been extremely intense with multiple insane stories. So we'll probably cut it here soon and say it, because I know you have more. I can bet $10 because I don't have very much right now, but that you have more, and I know you have your second half.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this episode here fairly shortly, but we're gonna do this in 2 parts.
Okay.
So this will be part 1.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you guys know how long we've actually been recording, but we're almost
Tell
at
us.
the 2-hour mark.
Nice.
Okay.
Is that
But one thing that I've noticed between everyone's stories here, and it's something that I can't relate to, which I will go into in the next part, is the religious aspect.
Mm-hmm.
The having a connection, kind of losing a connection, and rebuilding that connection.
Yeah.
I can say that I never really had any connections growing up. Things were forced onto me, so I never built any connection. So I don't know that kind of feeling. I just know the feeling of, crazy things happening, of hearing things, seeing things. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm pretty sure I saw the devil, or a demon of some sort.
Okay, you can't just breeze through that. We're gonna have to hear that next session.
Yeah, no, and that's my thing. That's my way of opening that story up for the next session, because it's one that I can never forget, and it has to do with that house with the window that I was telling you about in my back door.
With your
And I mean, I used to see. Well, no, that was just straight. I mean, we used to live basically at each other's houses because his was like a block walk away from mine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd see faces in that back door, and no one would be there. I mean, it was just things that kept intensifying until this day, which I will get into. But it was pretty intense. So that's one thing I noticed that was like common ground between all 3 of you is some sort of religious connection, which I found kind of intriguing. Because again, that's never been something
Devil knows
I've
when you
had.
ain't living right.
Yeah.
Swear.
Maybe not so much the connection, but when we're disconnected, I feel like.
Yeah.
Ain't no
There
rest
you
for the
go.
wicked.
Yeah.
You ain't living right. Some shit's gonna pop up.
Yeah, man.
Ain't
And I
living
mean-
right, you live in fright.
Don't ever say that again.
And just real quick, this last time that I had the recent nightmares and all that, and I saw the images and all that,
Yeah.
I was actually going through like depression. I was feeling like I'd come home from work and I'd feel sad. I'd feel like I just want to go to bed. Babe, let's eat. Let's watch a movie. But I'd fall asleep during the movies. Or there was times where I'd come home and just, hi babe, bye babe, go to sleep. And then I'd wake up and go to work. And like I felt like a bunch of dread. I just felt tired. I felt sad. I felt angry. And then now we're at this turning point where like we all just got this raise at work. I'm going to be a daddy. My credit score went up 90 points. You know what I mean? So,
And he just saved a bunch of money by switching to Geico.
yeah.
Sponsor us, Geico, please.
Beep, beep, beep. But yeah, man, it just goes to show like all the the state of mind that we're all in, connections, no connections, or disconnections.
Yeah.
I feel that if we're vulnerable and we're not strong, and even in any kind of faith, any kind of like you got to believe in something or you fall for anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's just that thing, bro.
There's always sunshine after rain. So
Oh yeah, man.
always sunshine after the storm.
Seeing that again brings me to more questions that I'm going to have, but I'm not going to tease them now because they're going to be interesting enough to cause debating, I'm pretty sure, in the next episode.
Alright,
So
okay.
it's,
We're
it's
fist
going to
fighting.
be an intense one.
Mighty Morphin fighting, you said?
No, I said, nah, we fist fighting.
Oh.
Mighty Morphin, straight Power Ranging that shit.
Hell yeah, bro. White Tiger Power. The white,
Think
no,
of
the
the
white
Tiger
Tiger
King.
Well, the
I
White
thought-
Tiger Ranger, bro.
I thought a Tiger King when he said that.
What Tiger Power?
I was like, ah,
Carol,
shit.
I know.
Damn it.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin.
Damn, Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin sponsor us?
Oh, God.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to get a sponsor here.
Well, I mean, hey, it is a dark podcast, and to have a dark woman sponsor it, I mean, we're good. Talk about dark energy right there.
Fuck it, we'll talk about tigers for fucking 10 minutes of the sessions.
That's
We'll
perfect.
appease you.
Or white tigers.
Yeah. So what you know about that Bengal tiger?
It's that bitch Carol Baskin. All right, man.
I'll be ready, man. I'm excited. I can't wait till the next episode, man.
Yeah, I have a lot more in mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Little
we'll
volumes
definitely.
and
This
shit.
is going to be a 2-parter, and this is insane because it hasn't even felt like it's been 2 hours.
Not at all.
We just looked at, and that's the beauty of this whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is it doesn't seem, you get into it, you start enjoying it, and then next thing you know, holy fuck, it's already Monday. What? You've been recording for 48 hours?
Shit.
But I definitely appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you for
And
having me.
we'll have to plan out the next one, so hopefully, next weekend we can do the same thing and get it going.
All right, man.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Of course, any final words, Mr. Duffy?
Someone please sponsor us.
In time. I know a site for that.
All right.
No, it's not Pornhub.
Damn. X video?
Maybe.
X-Hamster.
Sponsors hamsters.
Oh, God.
All right, man. That's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you guys again, and that is tonight's episode. Hope you all enjoy.